Welcome to Veterans Archives, where we are dedicated to preserving the stories of our nation's heroes. We hope you enjoy this story. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like and share our videos. Check us out across all social media. Be sure to like and share those pages as well. And for more information, go to www.veteransarchives.org. Today is Thursday, January 8th, 2026. We're talking with Nick Beller, who served in the United States Army. So good afternoon, Nick.
Hello.
I'm glad we finally got together.
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
It's been a journey.
Back and forth, but yeah okay.
So we'll start out with, I think, an easy question. When and where were you born?
I was born Detroit, Michigan at Grace Hospital in January 12th, 1968.
So you got a birthday coming up.
Yeah, and my anniversary is the 12th, too.
Oh.
Of my marriage to my wife, Jennifer.
Did you do that on purpose so you wouldn't forget?
So we went to Jamaica to get married, right?
Uh-huh.
So we picked a date we wanted to go, and then we're like, well, which day do we want to get married? And I said, I don't want to get married on the first day, and I don't want to get married on the last day. Let's pick like right in the middle, and it right in the middle fell on the 12th.
Oh.
So and my wife's like, you okay with that? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So that's what we did. And her birthday is the 22nd of January. So it's just, it just fit right good there.
You guys can do like birthday, anniversary, everything.
And our daughter was born 01/01/01. When I say our daughter, it's my bonus child. It's Jen's daughter, but she was born. That was her birth date. And then my oldest daughter was born January 30th, and then my mom was January 6th.
Wow, January's a busy month. That's for sure.
A lot of family members born. Yeah.
So did you grow up in Detroit?
So my first year of life was in Hamtramck, Michigan.
Okay.
And then my family stayed, Hamtramck's kind of in the Detroit city limits, sort of say. So then we stayed in Detroit until I was in 5th grade. So what are you then, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there?
Yeah.
So yeah, where we lived at, I was one of like 5 white kids in the whole school. So it was getting a little rough to be in that school system. And my dad was starting to work out in Royal Oak. He worked for UPS.
Okay.
So we moved out to Royal Oak in '79, I believe.
Uh-huh.
And that's where I stayed in Royal Oak and graduated from Royal Oak Kimball High School in '86.
Well, what was it like growing up for you?
So in Detroit, growing up as a kid there, all my friends were non-white kids.
Yeah.
And we didn't have much. What we did in the neighborhood is we played a lot of basketball because it was what we could do. We played a lot of Foursquare. We played a lot of just stuff that kids do. And my best friend lived next to me. His name was Anthony, so we hung out. And then before he moved in there, my dad's friends lived there, and they used to take me to, they had season tickets for Red Wings, I think just the Red Wings. So a lot of times it'd be a Tuesday night. They couldn't get any of their friends to go, and they're 20-year-olds. Right. Somewhere in that age. So they'd come next door, hey, Stan, do you mind if we take Nick to the game today? My dad's like, yeah, go ahead. Well, from where we lived at, it was only like a 15-minute ride to Olympia to watch the Red Wings. So I went to a lot of Red Wings game when I was young, and then my dad would take us to Tiger games. But it's on, 15 minutes down the road to go to these games. Now I got to drive like an hour and a half, make a whole plan to go down and watch the games. Back then it was, hey, let's go to the game.
The advantage of living there, right?
What's that?
That's the advantage of living there.
That's the advantage of living there, yeah. The disadvantage was, the neighborhood was starting a lot of abandoned houses. We used to play in abandoned houses, and the neighborhood was kind of going down. And so my family's like, we got to get out of here.
So Royal Oak it was.
So we moved to Royal Oak, and that was, before Royal Oak is what Royal Oak is now.
Yeah.
Downtown had one bar, one restaurant. I used to ride my bike down there on Saturday afternoon. They had Joe's Army Navy surplus store. So we used to go in there and look around all the Army and Navy stuff, not knowing I was going to be in the military.
Yeah.
And that was one of our Saturday trips. We ride our bikes down there. But yeah, not how it is now. Now there's, restaurants, bars, and high rises. And so it was just a sleepy little community until 696, the freeway went through, and they opened up Oakland Community College. That's when that town went.
Now, did they have was the bowling alley there when you lived there? I can't remember. It has a funny name. I can't
They
remember.
had a few bowling alleys. A Bolero, is that the one you're
That's
thinking
the
of?
one, yeah.
I was just there like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's still there.
Yes, me and my wife went there like 2 weeks ago. One of our favorite bands, it's Tino G's Dumpster Machine was playing.
Okay.
So we went there, and they have like a nice lounge that's like 70s themed.
Sweet.
So we went there, and they play like garage rock music, kind of on the bluesy side. So yeah, we went there and watched it. But yeah, that was my parents got divorced shortly after we moved to Royal Oak, and then that bowling alley was only like a mile and a half from my second Royal Oak home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did your both parents stay in Royal Oak then?
Yeah, my mom moved to Texas for like a short time, for like maybe a year, and she drugged me down there for about 6 months of it.
Not a fan of Texas?
No, we were in Houston, and I just, I was away from all my friends, my dad, everything, all my family, and parents are going through a divorce, and they're knocking heads, and the kids are just collateral damage, So, yeah, and then when I came back. My mom moved back. She moved into Royal Oak, so, which was nice because then I could just go visit my dad, and all my family and friends were there. So, but yeah, it was not the greatest of times.
No. I think it was a popular thing to do in the 70s, I think.
Yeah, and then my dad, when we lived in Detroit, my dad, he worked UPS. That was his Monday to Friday job. Well, he also worked on Saturday at the Shell station on 12 Mile and Crooks in Royal Oak. That's how we started going to Royal Oak. So we'd go to Royal Oak. My dad would take me sometimes, and he'd take me to the movie theater in downtown Royal Oak. Well, right next to the movie theater was a recruiting office for the Army, which I really didn't know. All I remember is little tanks and little Army vehicles in the window on Saturdays because they weren't there.
Right.
So as I was waiting for my dad to come pick me up, I'd be looking in there at all the, the Army stuff. Like, oh, this stuff's pretty cool. And then when I joined the military, that's where I joined.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so all these little hints when you were a kid that maybe this is in your future. You just didn't know it.
I just didn't know it. Yeah, and my so I had two uncles that were in the Army. Mm-hmm. My one uncle, he doesn't talk about it too much because I think he got in trouble and they kind of booted him out. Yeah. And then my other uncle, he retired as I think he was an E7 and he was a cook. But when he was in Germany back in the 50s, he would double date with Elvis Presley. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So your uncle double dated with Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
And we took a break so you could get this article out.
Yeah, so when he died, so this is dated August 17th, 1977. My uncle lived in New Jersey. So they went and interviewed him, and he talked about how when he went into the barracks one time where he heard somebody singing in the shower. He's like, who's that singing in the shower? He went in there, and it was Elvis singing in the shower. And, my uncle, he'll talk to anybody, So we started talking to him, and Elvis found out he was from Detroit, and he wanted to, hear about, the Detroit sound, the Motown sound, and was interested in that, and also interested because my uncle was from a family, I believe, of 9. Oh. Elvis was a family of 1. He had, I think his brother was stillborn. Mm-hmm. So he was intrigued by a big family, that he didn't have. So he got talking and became friends, and they would go on double dates because my uncle had a car at first before Elvis got his stuff there. My uncle had a car, so he'd go on double dates with Elvis in the early times. Yeah. Yep. Wow. And then all my aunts would be like, can you get his autograph? And I think he got a few things, but he wasn't like pestering them for anything.
Right.
But
for your uncle, it was just his buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was the early day of Elvis. He wasn't quite as, popular as what he is now.
He wasn't the king yet.
He wasn't the king yet. Yeah. So, that was, and then, every time I talk to my uncle, he's still around. He's in his 90s now, and he'll always ask about the military and, so. But yeah, that was the story of my uncle. So
what a cool family story. So so talk to me a little bit about high school then. High school,
I went to Royal Oak Kimball, and I like playing basketball, so I played basketball. I was on the high school basketball team. That was really my focus in high school, was doing that. You know, trying to get through school, working. I had a couple different cars. You know, chasing girls like, you know, high school kids do. So I was a typical high school kid. I really had a lot of fun, and then, you know, we go to a lot of parties around, you know, like high school kids did. So yeah, I wasn't very motivated in high school, and my parents weren't very motivated to push me to do better. They were just happy I was passing classes, and sometimes I wish they would have like, hey, you need to do better.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I kind of feel like that at that time, like, it just doesn't seem like education was important to a lot of people.
Yeah. My good friend, him and I talk about it quite a bit. We're like, man, if our parents would have pushed us just a little bit harder, you know, life might have been different. Not that it's bad, but, you know, and then I remember some of my other friends that always carried all the books around. What are they carrying all them books for? And I'm like, them parents are pushing them to do better.
Oh yeah.
You know, but you know, I see those people around now, and they're living, you know, about the same life I'm living. So I don't know if it was that much better. But
I just think the measure is how you feel about it, right? Like how you feel about your life and how it all turned out.
I think I'm accomplished enough, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of I'm 50, I'll be 58 here soon, and I retired at 56, and a lot of my friends are like, what do you mean you retired? I got another 10 years to go. I'm like, I guess you didn't plan right.
No. In retired at 56, you don't have to work.
No.
Like a lot of people retire early, but then they've got to get another job, and you don't have to do that.
Yeah, I was fortunate, you know, that I didn't picture myself retiring this early, but I just, you know, doing what I did, staying in the military, gave me that advantage, and, you know, being in the counter drug program I was in gave me that, and then, you know, saved a few dollars along the way and got lucky here and there, and then here I am. I'm like, people are like, what are you going to do now? I'm like, whatever I want. Are you going to get another job? I'm like, for what?
Maybe.
You know, I mean, what am I going to get another job for?
Right.
You know, to get more, you know, to get more money to do what? Buy another car, or, you know.
Retire again?
Yeah. No, like, what do you do with your time? Oh, I find plenty of stuff to fill my time up. You know, there's plenty of, you know, I still have my daughters that need help, and I volunteer at the VFW and the Legion or wherever. So that stuff fills my time up, you know, plus all the work around here I got to do.
Yeah. In fact, I know you got some projects when we get done
Projects.
talking.
So. Yeah.
So
and if they don't get done today, they'll get done tomorrow.
That's right. You have till Saturday, I understand. So what year did you graduate then?
1986.
Okay. All right.
So as I got close to graduation, I didn't see college in my future. I just like, what am I going to do? Go to college and drink and party my whole freshman year away before I wake up and decide this is not the way to go.
Yeah.
And then I wasted a whole year, and I really didn't have the money because, you know, I didn't put in for any kind of scholarships, and, you know, my family didn't plan on me going to college, so there wasn't like money to go to college, and I just didn't want to stick around my hometown and, you know, work at the gas station, grocery store, you know. So I'm like, I think I'll go in the military. Yeah.
So you went to that storefront with the little tanks and jeeps in the window? And...
Yep. I walked in there, and, you know, I talked to the Army recruiter, and he got me on the track. You know, I do regret that I didn't talk to like the Air Force or the Navy. I wasn't going to do the Marines. No way. No.
Right.
I wish I would have talked to those guys too. But I had my mind set up back then. I was going to be in the Army no matter what. So that's the one, you know, I look back and, man, I wonder if it would have been different if I, you know, did the Air Force and all that. So, but what I liked about the Army is they had the college tuition money. The other ones at the time didn't. So I think that was the selling point. And you got to pick what job you wanted to do. Yeah. Or I don't know if the other ones had that option back then.
Yeah, I think some did and some didn't. It just depended. Yeah. So what did you end up, what MOS did you start
So I wanted to be air traffic controller. That was I wanted to do that. Yeah. I'm glad I didn't. But they're like, we don't have any spots available for that, but we do have, we need some helicopter mechanics. And I'm like, well, that's still in aviation. So they show me a couple movies of different helicopters, like, you know, promotional things. Yeah. So I'm looking, I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And it was 67 Victor was the MOS, and it's 15 Victor now, but it was the OH-58 Scout helicopter. So that was the job that I picked to do. So never worked on a helicopter in my life. So I'm like, yeah, this will be interesting. And I'm glad I made that choice. You know, I look back and go, that was a smart choice. That was like one of those lucky things that happened.
Right.
You know, if I would have been air traffic controller, things would have been way different. You know.
Yeah, we don't get the benefit of knowing what would have happened if we'd have chose a different path, right? Like
No.
we just know what happens on the path we're on.
And you just don't know what other jobs are available.
Right.
You know, and I sit here and look back and go, if I had to make the choice again, what would I do? And I look at all the jobs in the military and I'd be like, I don't know if I do that much different.
Yeah.
If anything, I think what wasn't a thing back then was cyber. You know, I would have liked to do that, I think, because there's cyber offense and defense, and that would have been cool.
Oh yeah.
And when you get out, they pay pretty well. Like the guard can't keep them because the outside pays so well once you get the training.
You get a priceless, you know, education.
Yeah.
In that, definitely.
Yeah.
So where'd you go to basic?
So I went to basic Fort Knox, Kentucky.
Uh-huh.
So I once I graduated high school in June, and then I went in the Army August 6th of that same year. So I had a very short time between the time I graduated, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to be like, let's get this thing going.
Right.
You know, I went out to Vegas for 2 weeks. My uncle lived out there. Spent 2 weeks out there and kind of got ready. Like, okay, this is my last little hurrah before, you know, I joined the military. So I went out there. It was fantastic, and then came back, and my recruiter picked me up. We went down to Detroit MEPS.
Oh boy, I remember that place.
Yeah, I think I had already taken my ASFAB. And I had taken my ASFAB when I was still in high school. And we went down to Leland House in Detroit. Have you ever been there?
No, they put us up at the Mariner. I went in '84. And we went to the Mariner Hotel.
Mariner, okay. We were at Leland House, not far from the MGM casino. So we went there, and then you went there on like a Friday night. So you got there Friday night, and you had to go and take your ASFAB test. The thing I remember from that was you all got in a line and you had to go up to the desk and you had to recite your social security number. I didn't know what it was until I got in that line.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I'm like looking at my, okay, 385. So I had to go up, and that was the first thing I had to remember. Like, and you didn't want to look like a fool. I don't know what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So took the test, spend the night, and then you get up next morning. I don't know if you did this next morning, then you go get all your physical, right?
Oh, yeah. You get up at like dark 30.
Yep. Go down, because it was in Detroit. I don't know where at, somewhere in Detroit. And then take the physical and then go home. And then when I went to basic, they just came, picked me up. You went there, got like your travel paperwork, did your final swearing in and all that. And then I was off to Fort Knox. Got to Fort Knox, landed in Louisville Airport. Get off the plane, go find all the, the Army guys.
Right, everybody's got little packets with them.
Yep. So we, I don't know if they were drill. I don't think they were drill sergeants. I just think they were, people that came and got you.
Yeah.
So like, all right, come out to this bus. And we get on the bus and like, all right. So I get on the bus. All the seats are filled on the bus, and they're like, well, just sit in the aisle. I'm like, what?
Welcome to the Army.
Yes. So here we are. I'm sitting in the aisleway of this bus going from Louisville, Kentucky to Fort Knox. It's not a short ride.
Right.
And you're on the floor with someone behind you in front of you. I'm like, oh, great. Like, this is going to be great. So I do remember that. And I remember, have you seen the movie Stripes?
Oh, yeah.
So where did you go to training at?
So I was in the Navy. So I took my training out in San Diego.
Okay. So you've seen Stripes. So everything you see in Stripes is where I was at.
Oh, okay.
So if you watch their progression and everything they did, same exact thing. Wasn't as fun as how they made it.
Right, right.
But yeah, the same barracks, like that same room in the beginning when they're all sitting on the benches and they're like, oh, this is where you turn in all your contraband. Same thing. Same room. I remember all the patches on the walls, I didn't know they were patches. Now I look back, I'm like, oh, there's my unit up there. And when I rewatch it,
Oh, yeah. I'm going to go and watch it tonight now, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, so like the confidence course, we did that. The barracks were the same. Where they do all their drill and ceremony, that's where we did all our stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Wow. And the unique thing is, so that's where I went to basic training. My first First day in the Army was at Fort Knox. My last day in the Army was at Fort Knox. So when I retired, I went there to out process.
That's great.
And so I'm like, okay, I got to go find where I went to basic training. It's all gone.
Yeah.
All those World War II barracks, they're all flattened, but some of the cement is still there. So I went and, and I went to the gas chamber that I had went to during basic and took pictures there. It was open, walked in it.
It didn't smell quite the same, did it?
You could still smell like not normal air in there.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite the gas that was in there, but you could tell it was not the normal air. But yeah, and I didn't realize how close it was to where we were actually living. It was only like a couple blocks away.
Yeah, isn't it funny, like how your mind perceives things, and then when you go back, it's like going back to your grade school, right? Because it seems so much bigger when you were there. And it's so tiny now,
yes.
right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Same kind of thing. So you, where'd you take your AIT then? Was that?
So after basic, I went to Fort Rucker, Alabama.
Okay.
So after I graduated, basically, they put us on a bus and bussed us down Fort Rucker.
Did you get a seat this time?
I got a seat this time,
awesome.
yeah.
Okay.
And then they gave us like a little meal pass, right?
Right.
So, or whatever they gave you. So when the bus stopped, you guys, the soldiers could get off and, go to whatever they wanted to eat. And they're like, when you guys stop, there's no smoking, there's no drinking, you just get your food. And well, the only one that was there was the bus driver. He didn't care. But we were so indoctrinated already. We already, like, don't mess up.
Somebody's watching us. I just know they are.
Right.
Yeah.
So we get down to roll into Fort Rucker, and it was a Friday. We offload the bus and get in formation, and the drill sergeants come out, and they're like, okay, we're going to check you guys in. It's your lucky weekend because it's a holiday on a Monday, so you guys have a 4-day pass. You can't go anywhere.
Right.
But you got 4 days just to, we're going to have formation in the morning, afternoon, and night, but there's no training, there's no nothing. So it was like after all that, 8 or 9 weeks of just being beat to the ground, you're like, I could kind of relax a little bit. So
did you find it was tough to relax though? Like, didn't you feel it? Like when I first got into basic, I always felt like I had to be doing something.
I really don't recall.
Yeah.
I don't recall. I know I was pretty relaxed there, and then we went from 20-man barracks rooms to 4-man barracks rooms, which was nice. I had my own bathroom and got to sleep in a little bit, and the food was better, and it was like, it wasn't too bad. And then we had I think we had a week before we actually had to go into before we started training. So you're still doing, kind of a little bit of the basic training mentality, but once you started school, that was your primary focus. They march you to school, got your training done, and then you march back, you did PT, but then you were free until the next morning. So whatever you wanted to do, as long as you stayed in this certain area, you were okay.
And didn't get in trouble.
Yeah, didn't get in trouble. And then on Saturdays, they would have mandatory training. So every Saturday morning, they'd have some kind of training. Maybe an obstacle course, maybe a 5K navigation course. But some of those weekends, they'd be like, hey, the local boys club is running a 5K race. If you buy a entry form, you can go do that instead of the training. So we'd look for those because at 5K, 3 miles, half hour, you're done. Or we go all day training in the woods. No. So we would look for those and do those. And that got us out of the
Smart.
the training, sort of say. Yeah.
And so how long was training then?
So I was there, got there, it was end of September, October, and then I think all the way into just shy of February. So I think it was 14, 16 weeks. And that's how I learned how to work on helicopters down there.
How was that for you? Because you said you never...
I liked it. It was good, yeah. We had a couple weeks where we were just in classroom. This is a screwdriver, and these are pliers, and this is a hammer, and you're like, okay.
Oh, please.
Yes. And then, you go and work on all these aircraft every day. And then, I had a lot of friends there, so we'd go do stuff, I came home for Christmas vacation because I was there over Christmas, so I got to come home for Christmas, which was nice. But yeah, it was good training, I thought. I learned to work on helicopters. So
A lot of responsibility for a young guy too. I mean,
you always had someone over your back looking, making sure
Right.
you weren't messing things up.
Right.
So that was good. And then from there, I got stationed in Germany. So yeah,
rough. That's rough.
yeah. And I didn't want to go to Germany.
Really?
No, I want to be close to home. Still, I don't know why I want to be close to home. I'm glad I wasn't though. So caught a plane, landed in Frankfurt. Get off the plane, and we were at the 21st Replacement Center. So you go up there, and we were aviation guys, so we had our uniform on, and then we had wings sewn on, which privates don't. I mean, typically don't have that.
Yeah.
But as an aviation guy, you earned your wings through maintenance. So we wore wings around. Everyone thought we were cool.
You were the stuff, right?
These guys are cool. Look at them. They got,
Yeah.
they got wings on their uniform. So, but I think I stayed there a couple days, and then they shipped me down to Nuremberg, right outside Nuremberg, Fort Army Airfield. I was in, it was called 2CAS at the time, 2nd Combat Aviation Squadron, which was part of the 2nd Armored Cavalry Regiment. And then they changed it to 4th Squadron, still the 2nd Armored Cavalry Regiment. So I was a Cav guy.
Oh, okay.
So, but with helicopters.
Right.
So we were a little small airfield in Foyt, and I had one roommate at the time, and they were 3-man rooms, but it was just me. And then about 2 weeks later, I got another roommate, Eric, and I knew him from training because he was at Rucker too. I didn't know him too well, but I've known him forever. He was just here like a month ago.
Isn't that funny how you make those friendships and they're just there?
Yeah, he was here a month ago, and I've been down to his place. He's in South Carolina, and we were in Albania in September. We went there for vacation. So
Great.
yeah. So we became roommates there, but yeah, started working on aircraft there, and we back then the wall was still up. So our mission every day was to fly 2 aircraft to the West Germany, Czechoslovakian border, and then the West Germany, East Germany border. And we had a route we'd fly looking for the communists.
Yeah.
Seeing if they were building roads up or massing troops or anything. So yeah, our helicopters went up there every day, and sometimes we'd go, but mostly we were doing maintenance. But the times that I did go up there, it was like when you're flying down the border, like if you look into West Germany, it's like looking at color TV. And then when you look to East Germany, it was like looking at black and white TV. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
It was that.
That's pretty bleak.
Yeah. And you can imagine how those people felt living there,
Oh, no kidding.
But like Czechoslovakia, they had steaks. So they had a white steak with like a red top, and then a white steak with a blue top. And Czechoslovakia say, well, the border's here. And then West Germany would say, well, the border's here. And then as you go down, then they sometimes they'd be right next to each other. Sometimes they'd be, far apart, all where they thought their border was. And then when we got into East Germany, it was a fence because we weren't in where they had the wall.
Right.
It was just, a fence line, big area, and another fence line. They spent a lot of money putting fencing up.
It's all gone now, right?
Yeah, which was easy if you were flying helicopters, because the pilots, they'd have to know the terrain by heart before they could be a pilot in command of flying up there. Because if you make a wrong turn, all of a sudden you're in communist area and they potentially could shoot at you.
Right.
And it happened in the past.
Cause an international incident.
Yes.
No one wants that.
Yes.
There was probably a phrase that got tossed around a lot, wasn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. Like you actually felt like you had a mission.
Yeah.
Going to the border every day, and we fixed helicopters every day, and that was my job.
That's probably about as good as a peacetime mission gets, right? Because you're still doing kind of combat stuff, but it's
Right, and we got funded for it.
yeah.
So I'll tell you about Fort Bliss after, but we got funded there. So like if something broke and we needed a part, we got that part. Since that was my first duty station, I thought that was normal.
I thought that's how it worked, right?
It's
And I don't
not
think
like
a lot of
that.
people understand too.
No.
Like if you don't have the funding, if it breaks, it's broke.
It's broke.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how long were you in Germany then?
I was there 2 years, just shy of 2 years. But one thing when I was there is I got to the the Second Armored Cavalry Regiment, the Second ACR, had different squadrons throughout Germany. Well, each squadron, one of our units, the 4 squadrons, had to put a helicopter there for the colonel to fly. So I got to do 3 months of just me and a pilot in a helicopter at one of these tanker places.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So I'd walk around. I had a flight suit on. I'd have sergeant majors saluting me, and people salute me that shouldn't have been saluting me because I was just an E4 then. Yeah,
Right?
yeah. And they'd see me with that flight suit on and thought I was a pilot. So they'd be.
That's awesome.
So if it was somebody like my rank or lower, I'd give them the left hand salute.
Right.
But if it was like a sergeant major, I'd salute and I'd turn around and walk the other way.
Before they figured it out.
I didn't want to embarrass them, right?
Right. Right.
You don't want to do that. So, but yeah, it was, and that's where I learned to fly too. Because we'd take off, and then the pilot would be like, "All right, you want to fly?" I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm gonna teach you how to fly." I said, "Really? Yeah, okay." So every time we'd go, he'd give me something new to do. Like first, just the stick in front, which controlled, how you go. Then he'd give me the collective, which was the power, like the gas pedal. He's like, "Okay, you got those two." So he let me fly it. "Okay, now you got the pedals." So then I'd have the pedals, which controlled the aircraft from spinning, And then, okay, now watch this gauge. And every time it built. And before you know it, we take off. I couldn't take off because I didn't have that skill.
Yeah.
But once we took off and got going, he'd give me the controls. He'd be like, "All right, take me to Nuremberg." What do you mean taking? You know the way. We've been there a million times. Take me there.
Wow.
And he goes, "I got all the radio calls. And if I tell you what altitude to go to, just make sure you hit those altitudes." And then he teach me how to land, like come in case he was incapacitated. So he teach me how to do that.
Yeah.
So I learned how to fly.
What a great experience.
Learned how to fly a helicopter there. Yeah, I couldn't hover, couldn't land, because once you get close to the ground, it's really you got to have skill. And and it's not that I didn't have the skill; I didn't have the practice to, get that skill. And they're not going to let a private fly around too long,
No, they're not dumb.
So that was pretty cool. So yeah, I left there, and then I went to Fort Eustis, Virginia. So I got training orders, and no one in Germany knew what they were for, which I thought was odd. So I get to Fort Eustis, and they're like, "Oh, you're here for the Army Life Support Equipment class." It's called ELSI. So the class teaches you how to take care of helmets, pilots' helmets, their flight vests with all the stuff for survival,
Right.
radios, rafts, oxygen systems, anything that helps a pilot survive. So I went to school for that, and I was there, I think 2 months was that course. But when I first got there, the classes were all full with guard guys. And they're like, "Oh, you're an Army guy. Who put you back in
all
a
kinds
line?"
of time.
Yeah, the guard's paying us, and these guys can only be here for
Yeah.
a short amount. And I didn't understand it. I learned later how to understand it, but I didn't at that time. I'm like, "Okay." They're like, you got the week off, just come in the morning. And I was at E4 then. Come in, the first I said, "Come in and empty the trash and vacuum, and you can go for the day."
You're leading a charmed life so far.
I'm like, "This is great,"
Right.
And then one of my buddies showed up. He was going through the same course. So he shows up, and the first time I was like, "Yeah, just take him under your wing and show him around." I'm like, "Okay."
I always wondered what they did at Fort Eustis because I used to live in Virginia Beach when I was in the Navy. And
Yep.
I always saw Fort Eustis, but I had no idea what.
Transportation Center.
Yeah, I had no idea.
So now they teach how to work on Chinooks, Blackhawks. They did Hueys back then. No, they didn't do Hueys back. And they're a big boat place too,
Okay.
teaching boat stuff. And they have a lot of NCO courses because I've been back there a few times since. So that was their main thing there. Yeah, that's a pretty nice base. I've been there a few times, but and I lived in one bedroom, and I had a maid. And when I mean a maid,
Wow.
she would come in once a week and change the linen on the bed.
Yeah.
And bring towels.
But still.
It was fantastic because I'm used to, being in the 3-man room and
Right.
polishing floors, and we had a shared bathroom there, but and my roommate wasn't in the same predicament I was. He was doing different training. He had to get up early in the morning and go. And here I'm sleeping in, and
Living the life.
PT was on my own, and which I never did.
Right.
So it was great. So yeah, I finished that up, and then I got stationed at Fort Bliss after that.
Okay.
So I drive down to Fort Bliss. I get to Fort Bliss.
We all know how much you like Texas.
Yeah. I get to Fort Bliss, and you check in on the main post there, and they have you for like a week doing paperwork, processing, giving you some classes, typical Army stuff. And then your unit picks you up and brings you. So I go to my new unit, and they weren't sure where they were going to send me yet because I was in the 3rd ACR now. And the cavalry regiments, they don't have companies like Army units. They have troops, they're called. So a company and troop is kind of the same, and a squadron is like a battalion.
Okay.
So that's how they do it in the cav. It goes back hundreds of years how they used to do it.
The actual
Actual
horseback
cavalry. Yes.
cavalry guys.
Actual cavalry. So I get over. So the Biggs Airfield was different than Fort Bliss. They're connected now. Back then there was a road through there, and it was Biggs Army Airfield. So I go there, and you need to go see the Sergeant Major. I said, okay. So I go and knock on the door. And Sergeant Major says, come on in. And I sit down, and he's got a desk there. And on his desk, he's got 2 skull heads and then a nameplate, and it says the skull. And there's very large bald-headed black man sitting there. The skull.
You know where he got his name, right?
Yes, and I was like, Sergeant, Specialist Bell, I think we'll put you in Quicksilver Troop. You go over there and see those guys. Okay, Sergeant Major. So that's who I was in, Quicksilver Troop then. I was only there like a year and a half. But the barracks we lived in were condemned. They were H-shaped buildings.
Yeah.
And the center part was the bathrooms. And you had 5 or 6 stalls and 5 or 6 sinks and 3 or 4 showers. And I lived in a good one because my walls went all the way up to the ceiling. My buddies lived in different H-shaped buildings where their walls went up about 7.5 feet, 8 feet, and the last foot was chicken wire, separating the rooms and the hallways.
Jeez.
Yeah. Our motor pool is condemned. They built a new one there just as I was leaving there, but we still had this was 1989, beginning 89. We still had the old Willis Jeeps. We hadn't even had cut V's yet, where the rest of the Army was almost getting Humvees.
Right.
So we had all this old ass equipment, and then our helicopters hardly flew because of the funding. It was during the Clinton years.
Yeah.
So there was no funding. So if a helicopter broke and you didn't have a part, it sat. So when I was down there, we hardly flew aircraft at all. We went out to the National Training Center once out in California, took all our aircraft out there. The cool thing there is when we flew back, I took a bus there, another bus.
Of course.
But on the way back, we had 15 Hueys we were flying back, and I was on one of them. And we flew over the original London Bridge in Arizona.
Yeah, where's that?
Lake Havasu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the hottest places on earth, I think.
Yep. So we flew over that, looked down, I'm like, oh, there's the original London Bridge. I'm like, that's pretty cool,
Oh, yeah.
And then we were flying across New Mexico, and then we had to stop for gas at this little Podunk gas station, airport. And the guys down there was like, all right, you guys land, we'll get you fueled up. It's going to take a while because you got so many aircraft. How many soldiers you got with you? I don't know, 100 soldiers. Okay. So land. We go up to the flight ops building. The owner opens up the soda machine and opens up the candy machine. Whatever you guys want, help yourselves. You guys had a long trip. He goes, I got my guy coming back with food. Comes back a whole pickup truck full of McDonald's burgers.
How cool is that?
Yeah. Oh, he just, he made his his bill,
Oh, yeah.
15 helicopters he filled up with JP, or
Yeah.
Jet A. He made his money for the year on probably that trip alone, So yeah, he treated us right. That was pretty cool.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, I went back to stayed at Fort Bliss until August of 90.
So how did you like, I kind of always ask this when it comes to helicopters, how did you like flying in the Huey? Because I've flown in a lot of different helicopters. I really enjoy that one. It feels like a helicopter.
I like flying. Jeez, the Chinook was a lot of fun. I was a Chinook guy too.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun because they're the fastest, and they really don't have a torque limit. I mean, they do. How much? But I just remember we were landing in the woods one time, and we had to go straight down and then straight up. And this is when I first started flying, and I just remember it was like taking the elevator to the top floor. Like now,
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Huey was fun to fly in. That was the first aircraft I ever flew in when I was at Fort Rucker. And they took us on a familiarization flight, so we got to go. That was the first time. That was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. What I like about the helicopters is we'd have to do what's called an auto rotation to check the blades maintenance-wise, and pilots also do it for training.
Right.
So you'll go up, 3,000-4,000 feet, and then just drop the power. So it's like when you go over the hill on a roller coaster. Except, that's what, maybe 5 seconds, 4 seconds that you're over, and then with a helicopter, you're falling thousands of feet.
That's terrifying.
It's like the first time it happened, I was like, I'm going to die. And I'm like grabbing, trying to grab, and I'm like, it's going down with me.
Right. It might make you feel better, but it's still going down.
So yeah, so I got to really enjoy that feeling, like when I knew it was going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
It was awesome. And then when I learned to fly airplanes, I hated it even more because now I'm in control of it.
Right. You know what's going on. When
I
you're
know
doing
what's
that.
going to happen. I was learning to fly a Cessna. It's an overwing aircraft. The one I was flying, the little small ones. And you have to do a maneuver, what's called stalling the aircraft.
Yeah.
You know what that is?
That's where you drop your airspeed, right? And you don't have lift anymore.
Yes. Yeah. So you're stalling the wings, not the engine. So you just, you cut the power and you slowly nose it up, and then it will lose lift. Well, on the Cessna, as soon as it loses lift, it just nosedives.
Yeah, those will fall like a rock, right?
Yes. Where if you have a low wing aircraft, it will start to shudder, and then you'll be able to go, and then it'll start, and then you pull up. But that just goes. It freaked me out the first time.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, holy cow. And the instructor's like, okay, now you're going to do it. Well, no, I'm not. He's like, yes, you are.
Holy smokes.
He's like, okay, as soon as you feel it and it dives, get ready to pull in power and pull back on the stick. Okay.
Whatever you say, boss. So 1990, you leave Fort Bliss then?
Yeah, so 1990, I'm getting out of the Army. I'm going to college. So I'm driving away from Fort Bliss, and Saddam attacks Kuwait.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm like, the Middle Easterns, they're always fighting,
Right.
That's what I was thinking. So I drive away from Fort Bliss. I'm listening to it on the radio. If I would have been stuck there like another maybe a week, I wouldn't have got out of the Army. They would have stopped, lost me, and kept me there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I went to Las Vegas, spent 2 weeks there with my sister, and then drove cross country, got home, back to Madison Heights. My mom was living in Madison Heights. Stayed in Madison Heights. I started going to Oakland Community College. I did my first semester, started my second semester, and then my favorite uncle sent me a telegram to the house. Hey, we need you back.
Your favorite Uncle Sam.
My favorite Uncle Sam, yes. So that's when I used to use telegrams.
Wow.
So I got a telegram to my house, and it said, you need to report to Fort Rucker, Alabama, as soon as possible. Well, as soon as possible, in my mind was 2 weeks away.
Right.
I ain't going right tomorrow. Now. Yes. So, I had to go to college, drop out, let them know, show them all the paperwork, and they refunded all my money, no problem. And then you just take the telegram to the nearest airport, and they get you a ticket. So that's what happened. So I'm gonna take a drink of this.
So back to Fort Rucker it was.
back to Fort Rucker. So I get to Fort Rucker, check in, stay in the same old barracks I was when I was in AIT. Did I run any? I think I ran in a couple people from one of my old units there. So we'd go in every morning, and we were in civilian clothes to start with. So we'd go in and, all right, we're going to get you guys some uniforms and get you ID cards and, kind of in process you back into the Army.
Yeah.
I get processed back into the Army, and they're like, okay, we're just going to, we're waiting on orders to send you guys wherever. So every morning we'd go in, and the first sergeant would be like, yep, no orders yet. Go pick up butts and then come back at lunch. So we'd do that again. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We'd come back to first sergeant's office. Got anything? No? Okay. And you could go wherever you want as long as you signed out. So we'd go to the gym or go into town or whatever. And then I think it was the second week, he's like, okay, we're gonna send you, you haven't worked on aircraft in like 6 months, so we're gonna send you for some training, refresher training.
Yeah.
Okay. So I go refresher training and I show up at the hangar, and there's one of my old platoon sergeants standing there. What are you doing here, Beller? I said, they sent me over for training. He kind of laughs. He's like, you don't need any training. He goes, what do you need? I said, well, I got to have this signed. Let me see that. Okay, here you go. Don't come back.
Right. You know.
Don't come back.
So something that some people might not understand too is that when you do that initial enlistment, even though it might be a 4 or 6 year enlistment, you're obligated for 8 years.
8 years, yes.
Right? So there's this individual ready reserve where you
Yes.
don't have to drill, you don't have to have uniforms or anything, but if something happens, they can call you. And so that's what happened, right?
Yes. Yeah, it was IRR.
Yeah.
Called me up, said, come on back. So yeah. So I went back, and then we did that for like a month. And then, the war stopped
Right.
because of depleted uranium. Of course, we didn't know that 2 years later, but you heard that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So the whole battlefield was, and still is, depleted uranium, killing everyone. And so anyhow, so they're like, oh, we don't need you guys anymore. We're going to send you home. So sent me home, and then got back into college. And about 4 months after I was home, they sent me a letter promoting me to E5 sergeant. And I'm like, I don't need that. I'm not going back in the military, So I just filed it with the rest of my paperwork.
I'll never go back in.
Never go back in. Right. So fast forward 3.5 years later, and I'm like, man, I kind of miss flying helicopters. I kind of miss that. And I'm like, I wonder if Michigan has helicopters. So I'm like, oh, there's a unit that has helicopters. So got a hold of a recruiter, and I said, hey, I'm thinking about, all right, let's get you set up with that. I said, okay, I think I want to do that. So I joined the Guard. I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm E5. Here's my paperwork. Oh, okay.
No problem.
No problem. So I got stationed out in Grand Ledge.
Okay.
In the Guard. And I was working on same helicopters. So I was in that unit.
So were you working, you had a civilian job at this time?
Yeah, I was doing, at that time I was doing CNC work. So I was working for automotive.
Okay.
Doing, making molds for prototype cars, fenders, and whatever they needed.
Yeah. So you're still in the Royal Oak area then?
I was living in Waterford at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, I moved out to Waterford. I got married in, let me see now, 1992.
Oh, all right.
Yes, so my first wife, Renee was her name. And then I had Courtney, my oldest daughter, and Lindsay during that time. Let's see, so I joined the 94s when I joined the Guard.
Okay.
So I had, I joined 86. I had that 8-year enlistment, and I had to make a decision. That's why when I made that decision, either get out totally.
You won't have a break in service, right? If you go right to the Guard.
Yes. So that's when I had to make that decision, and that's when I decided to, go into the Guard. So.
How'd your wife feel about that?
I'm trying to remember. I don't think she was opposed to it. I don't think she was happy about it. I really don't know. I can't remember.
Kind of neutral, huh?
Yeah, it was more money coming in.
Yeah.
She didn't like I went away for the weekends because she thought I was chasing other girls. Yeah. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm going to do my Army stuff.
I'm here to work on helicopters.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess you have to ask her how she felt about it. I wouldn't know.
Well,
you know.
Yeah.
But she never, griped about it or anything.
Oh, okay.
No, none of that. So yeah, I worked on OH-58s, and they decided they were going to get rid of them. So they trained us on Cobras. You've seen those before?
Oh, yeah.
So I went from 58s to working on Cobras now. So by the time I retired, I've worked on every Army helicopter. So that was my first transition, was working on those, right?
If you think about it, though, you were in at a really good time because of all the transitioning that was happening. Like they were getting away from Jeeps and going to Humvees.
Yes.
You know, the helicopters were upgrading and changing, so you really got to see that whole transition. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the equipment, they were upgrading all the aviation helmet, all that equipment. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Getting rid of the old stuff, turning it in. I actually, when we got rid of the 58s, I actually took one all the way down to Biloxi, Mississippi. So I was working for Counter Drug at the time, and they were supposed to take one down on a Monday. I wasn't planning to go, but my supervisor at the time was supposed to go. We had, I think, a death in the family, so we couldn't go. So they called me up last minute. Hey, can you go down to Biloxi tomorrow? I'm like, oh, yeah. So we flew from Lansing. We overnight in Nashville, Tennessee. So we're flying into Nashville International, right?
Yeah.
The big planes, right?
Right.
So the pilot's flying. He's like, okay, here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to fly, and I'm going to talk to the tower. You're going to watch other planes, and then you're going to direct me to which runways we need to go, because there's so many of them. He goes, that's how we're going to do it. I said, okay. So we are in this little bitty little helicopter, and there's all these big planes, and you're looking out the window, and there's a big plane this side. So yeah, we land there, and we just go to like a little FBO and park our helicopter. You got a rental car? Yeah, you can use this. And we go into Nashville, and we're wearing those, flights, those flight suits, and so we go check in one of the hotels, and of course we do the Nashville thing and go. Probably have one too many drinks. Now I got to get back in this helicopter in the morning and fly down to Biloxi.
Was that a long flight?
It was, yeah. So we get down to Biloxi, park the aircraft, and then the pilot I was with, he had a flight like the next day. Since I was, last minute, I had to wait another day to fly back.
Yeah.
So, but that was pretty cool. That was, their transition to aircraft. And then they decide, okay, we're going to get Chinooks now and get rid of the Cobras and then get 58s again. Yeah. So they kept the OH-58s for the counter-drug unit, and then they get the Chinooks. So they're like, you're a Chinook guy now. I said, okay.
Did they send you to school for that?
No, they didn't send me to school because they're like, well, you've been around for so long, you worked on so many areas. We're just going to do like on a job training for it. So I start working on Chinooks, and then the Gulf War kicks up again. This was 04. So Michigan was partnered with Mississippi, sister units. So they call the unit to combat, to go to Iraq. We're like, wait a minute, we don't have any training. Our pilots haven't flown these things yet. And the crew chiefs and mechanics have no experience. We don't have helicopters. We don't have equipment. We have nothing. That's okay. You guys are going anyhow.
You'll learn fast.
So we get ready to deploy around Christmas time, and the whole month before it, since I didn't have that MOS, they weren't going to take me. They didn't have a slot for me. So 1 week it'd be, you're going. Next week would be, no, we don't have a. So they were going back and forth. So I never knew if I was going or not until the last moment. They're like the night before, like, okay, you're going now. Okay. So we deploy down to Fort Benning, Georgia, and we get down there, and we meet up with the Mississippi unit that we had trained with the summer before for like 2 weeks at JRTC in Louisiana. So like, okay, we're gonna get you guys training. So they start sending people to schools, pilots off to school, mechanics off to school. Once again, they're like, oh, you got enough training. We're gonna write a letter and we're gonna get you the MOS. And there was like 3 of us.
Yeah.
And we're going to take care of it that way. It never worked out that way. I never got the MOS, even though I worked on them for all this time. And then Uncle Sam just starts shitting Chinooks.
Amazing how that happens, isn't it? When
We go to the airfield one day, there's 2. We go the next day, there's 4. And then we go out there and there's 8 of them. Before you know it, we got 16 Chinooks in our unit that we didn't have a month prior.
like they were multiplying at night or
They're
something, right?
just shitting them at night, yes. So our focus when I was down at Benning, I was a flight engineer. So mine was all related to flight duties. So that's what they were training us on, all these flight duty stuff, how to maintain the aircraft in the air and all that, hardly any maintenance tasks. We get ready to deploy and they're like, wait, we got to open, I was at E5 then, we got to open E6 maintenance slot. And they're like, well, who's on the list? They're like, Sergeant Beller. So they put me in a slot and they're like, well, you have to go to maintenance company. And I said, okay, I can go to maintenance company, right?
Yeah.
But I still was the LC guy. So I had to do the LC stuff. So I told the commander, I said, listen, I've got all this LC stuff to do. I can't be a full-time, because I would have had a whole crew. I'm like, I can't run a whole maintenance crew and also do the LC job. You either give the LC job to someone else or you give this maintenance position to somebody else, put me back over there. I said, but I'm not losing rank over it, So he goes, all right. So we get to Iraq, and he's like, all right, here's what we're going to do. Because I did maintenance like the first couple of weeks. He goes, we're going to bring you back over. You're going to do LC full time, and then we'll have you fill in as a flight engineer.
So we're talking about Iraq, but before we get too deep into it, where did you deploy to initially?
So we went from Michigan to Fort Benning, and from Fort Benning, we went to Kuwait. And then we bounced around a few of the camps there, getting equipment, ammunition, everything we needed. And then our vehicles convoyed up to Balad, Iraq. And then we took the aircraft, flew up there. Us Americans call it Balad, but Iraqis call it Balad.
Oh.
I learned that from my Iraqi. Yeah. Said I was in Balad. He's like, what's Balad? He's like, you mean ballad?
In Balad, now my memory of Balad, it was like a depot, it was a parts depot almost. Like, we needed supplies. That's where we went.
Yes.
So, and you were there in what?
So
what year?
04, 05.
Okay.
Yes.
Just basically the year before I got there.
Okay. Yep. We so we had 14 Chinooks in our unit there. 2 of them were outsourced to the 160th. So the whole time we were there, we supported them, and then we'd rotate crews to go down and work with those guys.
Yeah.
They had the little birds down there, which is pretty cool.
Those are pretty awesome.
I only got to fill in like one time and go down there and see them things. They're like little sports cars.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, when you're in the middle of something, in the middle of a town, and you need some support.
Those are the guys you need.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Little bird, big guns.
Yeah. So yeah, our mission there, so we had 2 standing missions. The one mission was to transport troops from Balad to the Green Zone. I'm sorry, from Balad to the airfield out there, Baghdad International, for leave purposes. And then we had one mission that was standing where we would take supplies to Taji.
Okay.
So you ever been to Taji?
Yes.
So Taji was Saddam's tank center. So as we flew over, you got to see where he had all his tank stuff. But we, that's where we go to. That was our standing mission.
It was called the Taji Mahal because they had a pool there.
We had a pool in Ballad.
Did you?
Yes.
I only spent a few days in Ballad.
Yes.
I didn't like it very much.
Yes, we had a pool there. We had a movie theater.
Yeah.
So, but that was all Saddam's old stuff.
Right.
I lived in a trailer that housed, I think, 4 rooms. So I shared a room with one other guy. We had air conditioning, and then we had shared shower facilities, bathroom facilities.
Yeah.
So that's where we lived at. Our flight ops building, our first SARN building, we had to build them. So that's the advantage the Guard has over the Army is we had carpenters, we had electricians. That was their civilian jobs.
Yeah. People's day jobs really helped.
So we could build buildings that were legit, pretty close to code, No one's checking anything over there.
Right.
But structurally sound buildings that weren't going to burn down because you didn't do the electrical wire. In fact, my wife's unit, one of the people in the unit rewired the whole base in charge of it, not like himself running wire.
Right.
But he was a master electrician, and the whole time he was there, that's all he did was help rewire stuff for the whole base. So there was, that's where, and I used to do it when I was an active duty member. Oh, them guard guys, know nothing. Yeah, but they have all these other skills that helped out a lot.
Yeah.
And when we were there, so the Chinook units were us and Mississippi combined, and then Hawaii, and I can't remember who they were with, because the Chinook units were two different states that come together. I can't remember who's Hawaii, who their sister unit was. So there was 28 Chinooks in country when we were there. But it was cool when we were first transitioning. There was like 50 of them things all over the place.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So, but we flew.
They're pretty big.
Yeah. Yeah. We flew mostly the southern section of Iraq, but I've been almost everywhere in Iraq in a helicopter. All the places that you've heard of, I've been to. In fact, we used to go up near the Iranian border where the Kurdish people lived.
Oh, Erbil area?
I think even further up than that.
Like...
Yeah. About 3 miles from the Iranian border. That's how far we would go. And then we would take, I don't know who they were or what they were doing, but they would pull up in up-armored SUVs with no markings on them. And they would pull in, and then we'd strap them down in a Chinook, and they had the coolest guns.
Oh, yeah.
So I got to take a few pictures with a few of them. And then we'd fly up there, and they'd be in there. And we'd fly up there. We'd have to go over like a 4,000 or 5,000 foot mountain. We'd get them there, and then we'd put the ramps down, and then the Kurdish soldiers would surround our aircraft for protection, to protect us. And then they would take off, and then we'd come back like 3 days later, pick them up, bring them back. Don't know what they were doing.
Nope. Didn't ask either, did you?
There was no battles up there.
Right.
There was no insurgents up there. It was all the Kurdish people. So I think they were going into Iran.
Yeah.
Doing stuff in Iran, whatever they were doing. I don't know. So that I almost got blown up there once. I was I had a mortar land or rocket about 10 feet from me. I was we were getting ready for the daily flights, and I was out working on an aircraft, and someone said, "Hey, I need my helmet fixed." I said, "Okay, I can fix your helmet." So I grabbed his helmet, and I had one of those little John Deere Gators.
Yeah.
So I jump in that. I got flight pants on, t-shirt, and sunglasses on boots. Drive across the airfield, fix his helmet. I'm coming back across what we called Pad 2. That's where we staged before we took off. And in comes a freaking rock. I didn't hear it, see it, nothing. All I remember is all this not shrapnel, but asphalt.
Yeah.
Like asphalt's raining on me. And I'm like, what the heck? And then I stop, I look, I see a big hole in the, and then everyone else, because when they have mortar attacks there, they sound the alarms, right?
Yeah.
So everybody would run for the bunkers. Well, us dumb aviation guys were like, if we run for the bunkers, we're never going to get a mission done. So we would just continue on. We wouldn't. If I was near one, I'd maybe step in. I'm like, if it's coming, it's coming. So
it's kind of amazing what you get used to when you're there. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Like if someone was dropping bombs at you, out here.
Yeah.
Right. It would be different. Like you would go seek shelter, but
Yeah.
over there, you just.
Yeah,
what you gotta do.
And they always came in like in the morning around mealtime and in the evening. So you knew when they were kind of coming, you know. They had So I'm like, oh. So I go and everyone's watching, and I come back over my aircraft and everyone's running over like, how are you? Have you ever seen the movie The Jerk with Steve Martin?
Yeah.
You know how he's at the gas station and all the cans are leaking oil?
This guy hates oil cans. Yeah.
You know what I said? They hate Pad 2. My friends are looking at me like, what? I said, they hate Pad 2. They're trying to blow it up.
They clearly didn't get your reference, did they?
Oh, some of the guys did.
Yeah.
But my saving grace was the warhead didn't go off.
Wow.
Yeah, it just went in and damaged, put a hole, probably about like that big a hole there. But just from the impact. But the warhead didn't go off.
Wow.
So I was lucky.
Super lucky.
Yes. So, But yeah, I just got ready, went out, and flew off to the next mission.
Right, right. I find, I don't really think about that stuff until I got home, and then I thought about all of it.
And then we were flying one night, and we always flew at night. Sometimes we came back as the sun was coming up. Sometimes we left just before the sun went down, but we always flew night missions because that's a big helicopter.
Yeah.
And at night they can't see it because we turn all the lights off. They can't see it. So we were working for the 101st. It was the Najaf battle. If you ever heard of the Najaf battle, it was the church with the surrounding cemetery that the insurgents were causing trouble. So it was a big battle there. And 101st was, they were like the lead people. So we were transporting for like a week or two, everything they needed. Equipment for their vehicles. There's times that we just had a Chinook full of like Powerades and energy bars. One time we just had it full of ice. And we were doing this, for like nonstop. That was one of our main missions. And we were flying right by Abu Ghraib, the prison. Well, we were doing it too much. So they kind of figured out, they set up an ambush for us. And we were flying by there and they were lighting us up. Luckily, none of us got hit during that time. But what I do remember is I was on the tail of one of the Chinooks. I was a door gunner on the tail. And I'm looking out and I'm like, who's following us in that car? And I'm like, because that's how your brain thinks.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It was rockets. They look like headlights.
Yeah.
And then, you shake your head and go, oh shit, those are rockets. So we had flares and you have a button you push and it drops. Well, I didn't have the button with me. So I had to, in a calm voice, tell the other guys, hey, release the flares and dive to the right, because I could tell if we dove to the right, hopefully with the flares. And
right.
So, but I'm here to tell about it. So
yeah, clearly it worked.
Clearly it worked. But yeah, we got back. Like, oh man, that really could have done us in. But
oh yeah,
what was cool is about 2 weeks later, their colonel shows up. I think it was a colonel. Full bird colonel shows up. And he's got the big tall boots on, and the belt,
cool looking.
He liked to show that he was the guy, right?
Right.
So he shows up and he's like, he's like, get everybody together. We're guard guys, right? So we're out there and there's probably 30 of us and we're in 30 different uniforms. Because we're guard guys,
Of course.
Some got hats, some got boonies, some got nothing, different shirts, and it's war, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Well,
some people care.
some people care.
Some sergeant majors care, actually.
But no, the colonel's like, I just want to thank you guys for helping us out. We couldn't have won that battle without your support. And he's like, I brought you some medals. And he just had his cronies there. Yeah. And they had a big stack of the things and medals. And he went and pinned them on each one of us. Oh. And I was like, that was one of the coolest medals I ever got. Like right after it happened,
yeah.
He made it happen.
That's great.
So that was like one of the medals. I'm like, this is so cool. I got this one.
It's cool to have that medal with a story behind it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them just seem anonymous. Like,
right, yeah. Oh, right. Here's for great service during this period to this period. This was like, no, this is a battle that you guys helped.
Right.
So that was cool. And then the other cool thing I got there, well, I got a lot of cool stuff there, but we were transporting a general. He's a 1-star. He's a reserve guy. So we pick him up at Baghdad International, load him up on and he was an old Chinook guy. Mm-hmm. So we put him up in like the commander's seat. So he's up there and he's just having a great time, bringing back memories. And all his captains are there like tripping over themselves trying to help him,
Oh, yeah.
So we land in a green zone and he gets out and all his, cronies or, his captains and that are tripping over each other trying to grab his luggage and that. And I get one of them and I'm like, I said, hey, you think the general would, want to give us any of his coins, He's like, yeah. He goes, let me go check. I got a bunch of them because I'll get back with you. So we're, offloading stuff. It's dark. It's the green zone. We're not going to be there long. He comes back over. He goes, man, I can't find them. I don't know where they're at. I said, that's cool. Don't worry about it. He goes, no. He says, give me your address. And I'm like, You mean my address? Frickin' Iraq.
Right?
Address. 123 Main Street. No. He goes, well, where you at? I said, well, we're in Balad. This is our unit. Okay. He goes, I'll make sure you get them there. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Whatever.
Whatever. So a couple weeks later, a guy from Flight Ops comes over. He's like, hey, you got a package. Like, a package? It usually goes to a mail room, right?
Uh-huh.
So you got something here. I was like, it's a little box with 10 coins in it and a handwritten letter from the general.
Wow.
Hey, thanks for picking me up. It was awesome flying with you guys, and here, pass these out to your guys. I got to find that letter. It was so cool, like that he remembered and actually penned a letter.
Yeah, actually did what he, actually the captain did what he said he was going to do.
Yep. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. So, yeah, we were, my unit was pretty lucky. We didn't lose anybody. Didn't lose any aircraft. All made it home safe.
How long was that a 12-month deployment?
A little over 12 months, yeah. And then my last month, my wife shows up there. Not my wife, my girlfriend at the time.
Uh-huh.
Her unit got deployed. So I actually picked her up. So she flew in Kuwait like I did, and then she flew into Balad at the passenger terminal on the other side. Yeah. So I went and picked her up. I had what did I have? Oh, I had a up-armored Humvee. Yeah, Humvee.
Can I safely assume you're divorced at this time?
No, this is my new wife. Oh, yes, I was, yeah.
Because she's your girlfriend.
Yes.
So I just, I always have to ask the question.
Yes, I got divorced in 01.
Okay.
So, and then I married, my current wife in 06. So.
Okay.
So we were dating at that point.
Yeah.
Dating. So she flew in, and then I picked her up, and they flew in at night. And I had, the chem sticks, and I had made a sign with her name on it because it was dark out. So I was holding up this. She got off the plane. So yeah, so I got to spend 2 weeks with her there, and then I came home. Came home in 05.
Yeah.
Yep, and waited for her to come home. I got home in February, March. She got home in, I think, September.
Okay.
Yeah, when I got home, I don't think I drove for 2 weeks. I got home and my neighbor's like, hey, how you doing? I said, I think I'm doing all right. He goes, you need a new phone? I said, yeah. He goes, let's go get one. I said, okay. I said, you drive? Yeah, I'll drive. So for a week or two, I didn't want to drive. I was just trying to get used to being home again.
I think that's the hard thing about being in the Guard, right? I mean, when you're in active duty military and you come back from anything, deployment or training or whatever, you're still like you have that support system. You're still part of the military, right? When you get back from deployment in the Guard, you maybe have that 2 weeks of transition where they do all the stuff or whatever when you're redeploying, but then you just go home.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we redeployed to Camp Shelby, Mississippi. Yes.
Shelby, yuck.
So since we were part of the Mississippi, Mississippi has a lot of pull with their Guard. So we land at, was it Atlanta? No, I think it was Biloxi. We landed at Biloxi. So all the Mississippi boys got to go home for 2 weeks that day.
Yeah.
Not us. We had to go to Camp Shelby, demob, then go home. Then they came there and demobbed and got to go home every night. I was like, ugh.
You gotta hate them.
I was like, you gotta be kidding me. We all just want to get home,
Right.
But we had a police escort from Biloxi all the way to Camp Shelby. And then when we got to Camp Shelby, the family readiness group was sitting there with stacks of pizza and beer.
Nothing wrong with that.
We were like, this is amazing. They don't do that now because, it's nicer, gentle touch army now. We don't want to,
Right. Don't want to
get our guys drinking and that. So, yeah, I remember we were eating, drinking. I get up the next morning and I see a couple of my friends still drinking. Not still drinking. And I'm like, boy, you guys are getting started early. And they're like, we ain't never stopped. Oh, man. I'm like, we got to out-process today. They're like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Good luck.
Yeah. But it is like that. I got back, and I went back to my normal job, and it was just not like, here I am in Iraq, like people depending on me, like lives depend on me. If I don't do my job, you know, people could die or helicopters could crash. I go back to my job, it's like I could care less I was there,
Yeah.
you know. So
Just
that was
an ordinary dude.
it was, you know, getting used to that was, you know, like, okay, they don't even care if I'm here or not.
Right.
You have a loss, you
It's
know.
not the same mission at all. Yeah.
You're trying to get used to, okay, and this is how my life's going to be now.
Right.
So,
So you're still in Waterford at this time then?
still in Waterford.
Okay.
Still in Waterford. What was I going to say about that? Yeah, my house got flooded while I was gone.
Ugh.
A pipe broke. My neighbors were able to get the house shut off, water shut off, and then my dad was getting all the drywall redone. So I get home to my house, and there's no carpeting in it, dust everywhere. The walls are all finished,
Yeah.
but it's just a mess, and I'm just like, so I get the number to contract. I'm like, listen, I said, I'm gonna get somebody over here to clean this place right now. I said, I just got back from Iraq, and I walk into this. He's like, all right, we'll send somebody over right now. I said, also tomorrow I'll come over with carpet samples. I'm gonna get this carpet. Okay. I said, and then I'm going to Florida for 2 weeks. And when I come back, I want my carpeting done. I want this house finished. He's like, all right. So I was able to get that, you know, done.
Wow.
And then my girlfriend came back. And then I asked her to marry me shortly after that. Yeah. Yeah, 05. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then we got married in Jamaica in January of 06, which makes January 26 our 20-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a big one. Better get it right.
Yeah. Yeah, I got her a nice ring in a safe. She doesn't know it yet.
Oh, very nice.
So, what was I going to say? We were supposed to go to Jamaica, but it got wiped out by the hurricane.
Right.
So we're going to Mexico Sunday or Saturday, Mexico. So yeah, so from there, let me see, I went from there. And I was just a guard guy then.
Yeah.
Back to being a guard guy.
So when did you leave Waterford?
So, 09.
Okay. So you didn't retire from the job that you had then at the CNC
No,
place?
I kept doing my job,
Yeah.
my CNC job,
Yeah.
and then the company went out of business.
Okay.
They went out of business, and I couldn't find a job, so I was a stay-at-home bonus dad for a while.
Yeah.
So Jen was working as a federal employee for the National Guard. So I was taking care of her daughter, and then I was putting in for jobs everywhere. And then I finally got a job at the CSMS as a wheeled vehicle mechanic. So I'm like, I can fix helicopters, I can fix trucks, no problem. So I go in for the interview, and then before I go in the interview, I see one of my old Colonel Myers then? Major Myers? Maybe Captain Myers. No, he's a major at that time. Major Myers.
General Myers now, isn't
Yes.
he? Yeah, I
Yes, he was
served with him as well.
Yeah. I went to his, funny story to tell you about that. I went to his promotion when he got promoted to general.
Uh-huh.
But when I first came in the Guard in 94, we were up in Kinross training, and he was in my unit. He was an E5.
Really?
Yep. So we hung out a lot and got in a lot of trouble.
He is a great guy. Like and he can say things that I know no one else would get away with saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his dad was a colonel.
Uh-huh.
Yep. So he's general now, General Myers. Yep. So he was in that office, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? So I go in there, and he got injured in Iraq too, and I was chatting with him and talking, and then at the time it was Captain Schramm was in the office. He sticks his head in there. He's like, do you want to do this interview now?
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Oh yeah. I think that pretty much sealed the fate. I was getting that job.
Right.
So I go and I talk to him, and I get the job doing working on vehicles at CSMS in the reset program, it was called.
Yeah.
So I started doing that. Well, Jen and I were commuting from Waterford to Lansing every day. It was getting to be much.
It's a bit of a drive.
It was a bit of a drive, yes. So then the counter drug job, I was doing part-time work with the counter drug years up to that. Like they need someone to come fill in for a flight, or they need some maintenance, and I'd go in and, they had these things called AFTPs, additional flight training periods. So you could come in and work on aircraft and get paid like a drill check.
Right.
So I would do that. They need help. Hey, can you come in this day? Yeah, I can do that. And so then one of their mechanics moved on, so they had a position open. So they asked me, they're like, do you want to put in for this position? It's coming up. I said, yeah, I'm going to put in for it. Okay. So I'm like, okay, if I get that job, then we can start looking for a house, because it's, more of a permanent job. So I take my packet and I get it all built and I deliver it downtown to HRO. Here's my packet. Can you look at it, make sure I got everything? Yeah, everything looks good. Put it right there in the pile, Okay. So interview day comes up and he calls me. And my future boss calls me. He's like, I thought you were putting in for that job. He goes, we got the packets right now. I don't see your packet. He goes, I'm not supposed to be calling you, but we kind of wanted you for that job.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I hand delivered it to HRO. He's like, okay, let me go down and check. I said, okay, I'm going to call. So I called the lady. I said, hey, remember I was in there? Yeah. I said, I turned in that packet. She goes, yeah. I said, they don't have it up there. She goes, oh, yes, here, it's still on my desk. I said, can you take it up to the interview, please?
Could you maybe get that where it needs to go now?
Now. I'm like, how many times have they done this in the past and cost people jobs?
Right. How many people never got a call?
Yeah.
Right.
So thank goodness I got that job, and that was 06.
Uh-huh.
So from 06 to 24, I worked counter drug.
Okay.
That whole time. So I got laid off once because funding issues, but and counter drug was always it's based on a congressional budget.
Right.
So it's a yearly budget. So you're not always sure how much money you're going to get along the way. They're a lot better at it now than they were when I first started, and that's what people always say. Well, why are you going to take a job when you're only guaranteed a year? Am I guaranteed a job anywhere?
Right.
Right.
I mean, your experience, right? Your company went out of business.
Yep. So
besides that, counter drugs is a lot of fun to work anyway.
Yeah. So I started working counter drug, and I worked on, what was I working? 58s. I was back working on 58s again. And then my guard unit, the Chinooks, they were doing, when we got back from Iraq, they were doing another changeover.
Yeah.
They were realigning everything. And they said, hey, do you want this job working over in this one unit as their TI, technical inspector? I said, yeah, I'll take that job, because I didn't have the Chinook MOS. They're like, well, you're not really qualified there anymore, so we got this position. I was like, fantastic, I'll take that job. And that's where all the counter drug guys were working too. It was called the SNS squadron, SNS. So I go over there, I'm there like a year, and they're like, yeah, you got to find a new MOS. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Well, we had to move an AGR in your slot, and so you don't have a job right now.
Wow.
What are you talking about? A guard job.
Right.
I said, what are you talking about? You put me in that position. Yeah, we needed that for an AGR. I'm like, who's in it? Oh, a supply guy. I'm like, they're like, you have two choices. You can go back to school and be an avionics technician or a sheet metal technician. This is 09. I'm like, I don't want to do either.
Right.
I said, okay, I'll go to power plant, back down to Fort Eustis. And now I got to go through, since the 58 wasn't considered a next generation aircraft, and I didn't have the training, they were like, you got to go through the whole 10 level course. So here's a screwdriver, and here's this.
Oh, brother.
I'm like, yeah, are you kidding me? Like, no. So I get down to Fort Eustis. I go check in. They're like, we don't have any barracks room for you, so you got to go live out in hotel. Hotel? This 16-week course. Yeah, you're going to live in a hotel.
That's a long time in a hotel.
Okay. So they said, you're going to go stay at this place. I said, okay. So I drive over. It's in, it's by the mall there in Newport News, whatever the big mall is there. I can't remember. So I go in there and I check in, and there's plexiglass window when I'm checking in, and I'm like, plexiglass
This is
window.
a good neighborhood.
So I get in the elevator and it's rackety, and I get up in the room, I open up the room, it's like stepping into a 1970s room. I open it up, I look around, I'm like, nope. Shut the door, I go back to give me my paperwork, drive back to Fort Eustis. I said, I'm not staying in that room. I said, how dare you send soldiers over there? That is not sustainable for anyone to, any length of time to be sending there. Well, that's where you're gonna stay. I said, I'm not staying there. I'm telling you right now. I'll sit in this office till you get me. All right, sorry, bro, let's see what let's see. Okay, here, go stay over here. It was a Marriott, just built. I said, fantastic. It was a Residence Inn, just built. I go over there, I stayed, that's where I stayed for the 16 weeks I was there. But yeah, I was going to night school. Like I'd go in at like, it was like 5, 6 in the evening. And there was only like 5 or 6 of us, you know, and it was all prior service guys, you know. But it was just, you know, I already knew most of the stuff they were teaching me. I already knew all the basics I knew how to do.
Right.
You know.
Right. They had to check a box.
And then, you know, then we there's only 6 of us, so we get through the training so quick. You know, 8 hours of training we'd have done in half the time, but the instructors couldn't let you go because Sergeant Major would come check on them and make sure we were there.
Oh, yeah.
So that was my second trip down to Fort Eustis. And then I went down there for NCO course, ALC. So I went down there for that course. Another couple weeks down there, but at least we stayed at the General Smalls, I think it was called, hotel there, right on base.
Okay.
So, and that was just, you know, it was, your SLC for aviation. So it was all aviation related.
Right.
So I went back to the same place that I had went to school in 09. And, all right, we're going to take apart this engine and put it back together. Okay, you guys are good for the day. It was kind of a waste. It really was.
Right.
You know, but checking the box, you know, that's all that was. And they didn't even let us graduate. A bunch of guard guys. Hey, guard guys, you guys need a graduation ceremony? Nah. You know, sign the paper.
That's our certificate.
Get out of here.
We'll be on our way.
But it was almost like, wait, we did all this and you don't respect us enough to even have a ceremony, it almost felt like.
Right.
You know, almost like you guys are nothing.
Yeah.
It kind of did feel like that. Even though, you know, it would have been a pain to do, you still like...
Right. On the one hand, you don't really want to have to go through it. On the other hand, it would have been nice of them to offer it.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Like, hey, if you guys want to do this, we can do it. But no, they were saying, yeah, you guys are going to do that. So, yeah, so I had to go there and get, which ended up working out for me in the long run because when I was down there, I was able to get that license to work on aircraft engines. I had that whole schooling. So when it came time for me to get what's called an A&P license for aviation, airframe and power plant, I was able to use that to put on my documentation for that to show that I worked on engines. So it ended up working out.
That's perfect.
Yeah, because when I came back, we were transitioning again. This was 13. We were getting Lakotas. Have you seen those?
I have not.
So the Lakotas are off-the-shelf aircraft that they put U.S. Army on the side of it.
Oh.
So they're basically a lot of the hospitals use them. So I think U of M has them too.
Oh, like the life flight helicopters?
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the clamshell doors on the back. So the Army bought those, painted them green, put U.S. Army, you know, and changed a few things.
Right.
But only the Guard has them.
So we were talking about you are in Grand Ledge.
Yeah, Grand Ledge, it's 2013 now. 2012, 2013, right around there. I'm in Delta Company now, a maintenance company. So I've always been in flight units, flight companies the whole time.
Yeah.
So this is the first time I go to a maintenance company and I'm like, I didn't really want to be there, you know. But I'm still doing counter drug stuff on the weekends. So,
Right.
I mean, during the week. So my Monday through Friday was counter drug, fixing OH-58s. And then 1 month I was doing, you know, Delta Company, power plant mechanic, which we never really worked on aircraft because you're there for the weekend, and there's really not a lot of power plant stuff that goes on in the weekend. So I was the master driver, so I was teaching people how to drive trucks and, you know, doing all the other Army stuff that you do on drill weekends. So, and then 2013 comes around and due to transition to Lakotas. So we get 4 Lakotas, and then we get training allotments. So they have to send people to A&P school, and they have to send people to the factory course. So they have to make a list of who they're going to send. So you got to send some federal technicians, you got to send some guard guys, you got to send some counter drug guys and supervisors, whatever. So they figure all that out. So I was lucky enough to, since I worked in counter drug, they were going to send me.
Right.
Which was really cool. So first they sent us to the A&P course, which was really cool. So they sent us down to Nashville, Tennessee. So I get to go to Nashville, spend 2 weeks there. Not as much fun as it sounds. So we get to Nashville, and so the school's paid for, the housing's paid for, food, and I'm getting paid.
Right.
Most people that go to these A&P schools, that's not the case. They have to pay their own way, everything. So here's all this Army guys going to school, and here's, you know, average Joe down there having to flip the bill for all that. So we were very fortunate for that the Army paid for that. But we went to,
And you were talking about Baker School of Aeronautics.
their football team's undefeated.
Oh,
Yeah, of course they don't have one, but
of course. Were you there on scholarship?
yeah. So the school was very demanding. So they teach you there. So they don't teach you how to work on aircraft there. They teach you how to pass the course.
Okay.
So you have 3 written. You have a general written, you have a power plant written, you have an airframe written, and then you have an oral, and then you have a practical. So you got to pass all 5 of these. So they each one of those sections has a book, and each book has about 1,000 questions in it. So you go through the book at least 3 different times, and you read the question, and then you highlight the answer. So you just keep reading this book, and what they do is they teach recognition, not how to remember, how to recognize, you know, when sewing a fabric wing, what kind of thread do you use, you know, and you'll just look at, you know, the selections, but you're only going to remember one,
Right.
recognize one. So that's how they teach you down there. So yeah, so I had to take, each one of them is 100 questions. So they stick you in basically a glass room. You know, there's one side is a wall, but the rest is glass. And you go in there, and they have a computer, and you just question pops up, you give the answer question. But a lot of it is if you did enough studying, as soon as you see the question, there's some I'd read half the question, I already knew the answer. I just hit the button. But we'd go to class, and you know they teach us some stuff, you know, but then the rest of it was just reading. So you go back to your hotel room and you'd sit and read. And then I'd go to the gym and I'd get on the bike and I'd read. And I'd go to a restaurant and eat. That was the only thing I didn't do. I always, when I went to eat, I would just eat.
Right.
I'd take a half hour, shut my brain off. But you wake up in the morning.
That's a lot of reading.
Yes. And it's just, you know, questions and answers.
Right.
And then you have to do, so if you get through all 3, I failed the power plant the first time. So I had to do retraining. So it's like a whole nother day,
Right.
you know. So you come back and you take the test again, and I passed it. And then one of the tests I took, the computer shut down. It totally shut down. And they said they've never seen that happen.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Only to you.
And I passed that one. And then you have to do, so when you do your practical and your oral, you actually go to what they call a DME. So it's some guy like out here at the airport, here in Charlotte, there's a guy that does the testing out there. So it's a place like that. You actually leave the school and you go there, and he has all your projects set up for you. So the first thing he does is sit about how far we are apart, and then opens up his book. It says, okay, when servicing the 747 air conditioning system, how many psi must you be aware of if you're over? And then you have to answer it.
That's crazy.
So there's 10 sections, and you have to get 70% in each section. So basically 3 questions.
Yeah.
So, but then he'll do that, and then if you're struggling on one, he's like, okay, on a 747, what is the middle number of the designator? So he'll throw you a softball one if he knows you're struggling, But if I was struggling, I'd be like, electrical, pneumatic. But there was a few times he's like, all right, if you miss this one, you're going to fail this. And so then you do that.
Yeah.
So my buddy was in there. We went as 2 of us went. And he had me doing something else, looking up parts while he was doing this with my buddy. My buddy was failing terrible. I felt so bad for him. He was so confused and couldn't answer them. Then you do practical. So I take you out on a hangar floor, and they had helicopters and airplanes in there. And he's like, okay, I want you to go over that Cessna, and I want you to inspect the interior and tell me, what deficiencies you find. So you go in there and find them. And then he's like, all right, he hands me this tool. He's like, here. He goes, I want you to go in there and tell me how much tension is on the rudder wire. I've never seen this tool in my life. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, I know what the rudder wire is because it's going to the rudder. So I climb back in the Cessna, right? And I'm in the tail boom, and I got this thing, and I'm like trying to figure out how it goes on the wire. I finally figure it out, It took me probably 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
If you knew what you were doing, it'd take you a minute.
Yeah.
So he already knew I didn't know what I was doing. But then I come out and I'm like, 22 pounds. That's close enough. Yeah.
Wow.
And then he had me work on the engine. He goes, I want you to check out the spark igniter and the fuel nozzle on this engine here. And I'm like, oh, that's a 58 engine. I know that. So he's sitting there with me, and I'm talking to him as I'm doing the maintenance on it, He's like, okay, that's good. So if you didn't know, on that engine, the spark igniter and the fuel nozzle are in the same area. And if you pull both of them out, there's a piece inside the engine that will drop out, and you'll have to pull the whole engine apart to put it back. So you have to take one out at a time.
Oh, okay.
If you didn't know that.
It's kind of a trick question.
Yeah. So luckily I passed all that, and I got my A&P license down there in Nashville. And we were able to, you find out that day, like when I went through with that guy, I found out that day. So now I got to drive back with my buddy that failed.
Oh, geez.
And here I am, like super excited that I just passed this awesome course. But I can't be like, woohoo.
Don't be too excited.
No, I can't be too excited because my buddy failed, So he ended up passing. He had to stay a couple more days, but. So then they had to send us to the factory school. So we get to go down to, it's between Dallas and Fort Worth. I'm trying to think of the name of the city. Anyhow, I'll think of it soon enough.
Right.
But so we go down Arlington.
Okay.
So we go down to Arlington, and we get to go to the factory course, which was awesome. So that's their business, right? They teach mechanics how to work on their helicopters. And it was a 2-week course, 2.5 weeks. And I learned how to work on that helicopter in 2.5 weeks, where the Army took me 14 weeks to learn how to work on a less complicated, aircraft. Actually, it's Grand Prairie.
Okay,
Arlington's right next to it, but Grand Prairie is where the school's at. So so we'd go in the morning, and they teach us about the aircraft, and then at break time, the hotels would bring us food in.
Nice.
Breakfast food, because they were trying to get us to transfer to their hotel, because they knew they had a payday.
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. And then we'd go back to our hotel, and they had the beer and snacks for us.
Right.
So it was pretty cool going through that course, which gave me the opportunity to work on the Lakotas. Mm-hmm. You had to have that license. The rest of the Army aircraft, you don't have to. But the way the contract read when the Army bought that aircraft is you have to have licensed A&P mechanics,
Yeah.
which means you had to have already three years of airframe experience and 3 years of engine experience before you could even take the test. Yeah.
Were they kind of hoping that the military was going to hire their mechanics then?
I don't know what it was. I don't know what I think it was is, so the Army bought these aircraft, right? And they're FAA designated aircraft. If you have an FAA person work on it the whole time that's licensed, at the end of it, they can sell it with FAA records
Oh, yeah.
to an outside agency.
Yeah.
And only the Guard has them. Army doesn't have them. Yeah. So went to those courses, then I get back and they're like, hey, you're going to deploy again. Yeah. Because I'm in that Delta company now.
Yeah.
You know, maintenance. So we deploy to Fort Hood, Texas for like 90 days of training.
Yeah.
Horrible. You been there?
I have.
Horrible. They treat you like a child.
Yeah.
Whether you're a private or a general. Well, maybe not a general, but
They're not nice. That's
no,
for sure.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like why do we put up with that as soldiers?
I did my train up at Fort Dix. Same thing. They treated you like you were an idiot the whole time.
Yeah. I saw them yell at this guy who printed off one too many pages out of their learning center.
Yeah.
Like, just gave it to him. And I was going to say something, but I'm like, I ain't saying nothing. I won't be able to come in here.
I'm just gonna walk away from this mess.
Yeah. So we couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
So they had the USO, I think, there. So they were showing like, it was the Michigan game. We were down there during like a bowl game or something. Well, it started late. Well, they closed early. Oh, 10 o'clock, TV's off. See you guys. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Luckily, that happened one time, but the next time they're like, all right, close all the lights, pull all the shades. We'll let you guys stay in here if you keep quiet.
Don't let anybody know.
Well, it was just ridiculous, you know, and they treat you so awful, awful. Like, why would you treat soldiers like that?
We came up with a theory on that, and that is they treat you so terrible that you look forward to going wherever it is you're going. I really believe that. Like, this place sucks so bad, I can't wait to get to Iraq. Mm-hmm.
It was horrible. Like our time in Fort Benning when we deployed out of there was nothing like that.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. No. Mm-mm. Heck, we went to New Orleans on a weekend. So yeah. So they deploy us to. This is 13. This is what time? What was the Kuwait. We got to Udari Airfield. Now they call it. What do they call it? It used to be Camp Udari. Mm-hmm. Now they changed it to something else. I can't remember. So we're there for like 7-8 months just doing nothing.
Yeah. Doing
nothing. We got, Black Hawks out there. I end up, there wasn't much engine work there. So I ended up, one of the production control guys got demoted because he just wasn't doing the job. And he was holding a position I needed to go in.
Oh, there you go.
But they wouldn't demote him because he was a federal tech.
Yeah.
We can't get rid of him or demote him. So you're just stuck at your E6 rate, No. So I ended up doing his job there, production control, deciding which aircraft gets maintenance first and who's going to work on it. That was my job there. But yeah, just sitting there for 7 months.
That's a long time.
Out in the freaking desert.
Yeah.
Doing nothing. And our commander was not great. Like he was making room assignments 6 months out, a captain. Who's going to stay with who? What?
What?
Why? Why are we? Yeah.
Why are we doing this?
That's the kind of guy he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he was very
so your deployment was only 8 months then to Kuwait?
Yeah, it was very short. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We were there when ISIS was kicking up, when the first ISIS was started kicking up, because one day I'm like out and I'm like, oh, I've never seen any of these vehicles before. And they were all special ops vehicles. all over the place. And then you see the guys running around with the little Ranger short panty things, you know.
Oh yeah, the short
and no shirts on and headphones, which we couldn't do any of that, you know. And they're all over the place.
And they're all carrying custom-made Kimber 45s. Yeah.
Yes. And then 2 days later, they're all gone.
Yeah.
Like that. So yeah, but that was 13. I picked up running then. Before I always ran for my job. Like, it's the 2 mile run to keep my job.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah, and when I got there, I started running for fun. Maybe it took me to be the 43 to do that. So, but yeah, I was running a lot because there's nothing else to do. I mean, you could just sit and watch TV, or videos or whatever. But yeah, so I picked up running when I was there, and then so what else? Yeah, it was just a boring time there.
Yeah,
there's just nothing going on. You know, I think we went to the Kuwaiti Mall twice. That was our trip. Their commander took us on.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah. He's like, all right, we're going to load up in the morning. We're going to the mall. We're going to be there all day, and we'll come back. You guys spend the whole day there. So we get there, and he's like, okay, how's about 2 hours? What?
That's not the whole day.
His mind it was.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Like, you kidding? Oh, like, why did I even come for this?
Right.
So, yeah.
So you finish that up and you get back home?
13, we come back. We go to Fort Hood. So we get to Fort Hood.
How nice.
Right? Our commanders had it by then. Like, all his micromanaging it, he was done. He gets there, he goes, listen. He goes, we're going to start out-processing on this day. I think we had like a day or two to... He goes, I don't care what you do. I don't care if you get rental cars. I don't care if you go get a hotel. Don't get in trouble. He goes, I don't care. I've had enough of it. If you want to wear civilian clothes, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because you weren't supposed to, you know. He didn't. So yeah, like, that was like telling everyone. Off they went, you know. We get done, and then it's the day I got to fly out of there. So I'm waiting for the bus to pick us up at North Fort Hood, and I'm wearing, it's what was it, August then? August, September. So I got shorts on, a shirt, and
Yeah.
Sergeant Major comes out. Sergeant Baylor, what are you doing? You're supposed to be in uniform. Everyone else is in uniform. You're supposed to be in uniform. I said, listen, Sergeant Major. I said, our captain said we can wear whatever we want home. I think Captain outranks you, Sergeant Major. He was a friend of mine too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
He's like just shaking his head. I get to the airport, running late. My first sergeant's got my ticket. He's like, hey, I got your ticket. Grab your bags and get up. The gate's loading right now. Okay. Get up there, hands me my ticket, get on the plane and that. We land in Dallas. And of course we go right to the bar. So we're drinking at the bar. He's like, all right, we got to go to get close to the gate. So we go to the gate and they're loading now. There's a bar right there. He's like, all right, we got time for one more. He goes, hold on. He sends one to the privates. Tell them don't lock that door. We'll be there in a minute. I'll drink another one. I come back. I go to scan my ticket. Beep. But not a good beep.
Right.
Beep. She goes, let me look at your ticket. She goes, this isn't the right ticket. I said, I'm with all these guys, you know.
Right.
She goes, no, you're going to Minnesota, but yours is on a different gate. Like, yeah. It was a totally different gate. And she's like, yeah, you're not going to make it. She goes, that plane leaves in 20 minutes and you got to catch a bus to this gate. And
Oh, my gosh.
I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. She's like, no. So I, have to get on the phone, make all these calls. I end up getting on the flight, and I get to Minnesota, and there's everybody still sitting there. By now, they're hammered and cut off at the bar.
Yeah.
They got them cut off. So yeah, land back in Lansing, and that was the end. That was my last deployment.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I never deployed after that.
Wow.
No. Came back and stayed in Delta Company, and then kept doing my counter drug job. And then around 2017, I couldn't get promoted because the two guys in front of me, the positions I could hold, were both federal technicians.
Right.
And they held the only two E7 slots I could go into. So I'm like, I can't wait anymore. So I just started putting in for jobs wherever I could do a job, you know, in the military that was E7 rank. So there was one at JFHQ for the joint staff. They needed E7s. So I put in for the job. And right before I get the job, Delta Company decides to get rid of my E6 slot. So now I don't have a slot. They put me in the E5 slot. I'm like, oh, this is great. And don't even tell me. Just not take rank from me.
Right.
But
you're in that slot.
I'm in that slot, you know. And then I get a call, and Colonel Bennett was her name.
I know Colonel Bennett.
Colonel Bennett. She goes, hey, you want this job? I said, yes. She goes, okay, I'll get the paperwork going. I'll have my people get your paperwork going. You come over here. I said, okay. So I get over there, and there's like 3 or 4 counter drug guys in joint staff, including my senior advisor. I'm like, perfect. This is going to be great, right?
Right.
So I get in there, and they got me in E6 slot. And I'm like, the posting was for E7 position. It was a double F position. They didn't go by the list you had to apply for it. But if you got it, you know. So eventually I had to go to Colonel Terrell at the time.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, Colonel Terrell. I said, listen, here's what's going on. I said, they just transferred a guy into a 7 slot that's supposed to be mine that I put in for. You know, I got to talking to him. He's like, yeah, Sergeant Belly, you're right. He goes, I'll see what I can do, you know. So he, by then, he had got promoted to general, and they got it figured out, and they promoted me, and he promoted me, which was cool, because he got promoted by a general.
Yeah.
That was really cool. So, and we used to have joint staff meeting, and I'd be sitting there waiting, you know, in the room, and I'd look behind me, and he'd be standing behind me. Hey, sir, what are you doing? He goes, I'm trying to hide behind you. I said, I don't know, sir. You're kind of the guy. Right. He goes, yeah, I know. I said, I think they want you up there. He's like, okay. He was a good guy.
Yeah. Is he over at Selfridge now?
I'm not sure, because I can't remember what position he was when I left, but he was in charge of joint staff, and he's a dual status commander. Right. So he can command, you know what that means, right? Yeah. So yeah, and joint staff was, it was working really well up until COVID.
Right.
At least I thought it was.
Yeah.
You know, it seemed like we did a lot of training scenarios. Seemed like it was a true joint staff type of event. And then, you know, COVID hit.
Screwed everything up.
I was working out the airfield, and they called me up. They're like, hey, you need to get to Joint Forces headquarters. We got to start setting up what we call Jock in a Box.
Yeah.
We got to start setting that up. I'm like, so I get there, we get it all set up, and then someone from the military police comes in there and starts telling us how to do stuff. This is wrong. You need these, and you got to do this, and I'm going to take this over. I can't remember what that colonel's name was. Anyhow, so we got that set up in one room, and they didn't like it there. Then we move it to another room. So they have the jock in a box with the joint staff in one room, and then they got the actual jock up at, you know, JFHQ. Yeah. So they're running 2 of them, which doesn't make any sense, right?
Not at all.
So they finally figured out, like, because they're like, well, we can't give them information. We can't give them information. Finally, like, we just need to combine this, you know.
It needs to be one entity.
That's when Hippica. That guy comes in. You know what that guy's about, right?
Hippica was he was my battalion S3 for quite a while, and our careers followed each other, so I definitely know Scott Hippica.
Oh my gosh, so he comes. I saw him freaking undress a lieutenant colonel because the color purple on a slide was wrong.
Yeah.
It wasn't the right shade.
Yeah.
In front of everybody.
You know the crazy thing about that guy?
I was just like,
He's a great guy when it's not in that role.
right.
I like him. He's a really good guy. But he was tough to work for. I'll just say that.
I remember when I first met him, he pulled all the joint staff NCOs out.
Yeah.
And just talked like we're talking.
Yeah.
Like normal, nice guy. But then I saw him and I was like, oh my God, this poor freaking colonel there, I forget his name at the time, but I was like, wow, just because the color purple was off. So yeah, I was working there for first 2-3 months of COVID. I was the night guy. So I'd come in and I was the night guy because of some of my other NCOs had families and I didn't want them to be there at night. I said, I'll take the night shift. I said, you guys can be with your families and I'll work the night shift. I was working the night shift. And that's when I found out my daughter had cancer. So I come in and I was talking to one of the other NCOs about my daughter and that. And then Major Zeller, you know Major Zeller?
I do.
So Major Zeller's like, hey, what's going on? And I knew him as a E4. And my wife deployed with him as a E4. So, and he worked for Counter Drug for a while too.
I think that's why I know the name, but he wasn't a major when I was counter drug years ago.
Yeah.
But,
He worked with Counter Drug. So he's like, what's going on with your daughter? I said, I told him. He's like, why are you here? I said, because it's my job. He goes, I want you to go home right now. He goes, I'm going to talk to the colonel and see what we can do about this. So I go home and he says, all right. And he calls me like the next day. He goes, here's what we're going to do. He goes, we're going to have you work remotely. He says, you come in, grab all your stuff. He says, and you set up your, because I had 3 screens and laptops, and he goes, you take all that stuff home and you'll work nights, and then we'll have you do stuff because I could, you know.
Right.
He goes, okay. So that's how the rest of my COVID stuff went. And at first they'd have me do stuff, and then they'd just kind of forget about me.
Right.
You know, and I'd get on they'd have briefings, the start of the shift, end of the shift. And they always used, hey, Sergeant Ballard, you got anything? Nope. You need me to do anything? No, not right now. We'll get back with you. And they just eventually just forgot. What I think is they just kind of like.
They took care of you.
They kind of forgot about it. But it wasn't much, you know.
Yeah.
They didn't run it how they were supposed to. Because the joint staff and the guard, the guard as a whole is a support in when an emergency happens. The EOC was supposed to run it, but the guard was trying to run it.
Right, which is how the guard operates.
General Rogers was trying to run it. Yeah, the first thing that they did, which was funny, is our first mission was to take a hand washing station up to some VA retirement home in the UP, so that people could wash their hands before they went in. And that came from Rogers. Was it Rogers?
He would have been the tag at the time.
Yeah, it was Rogers.
Yeah, because he's still the tag.
Yeah, so somebody called and said, hey, instead of going through, the EOC, Emergency Operations Center, and saying, hey, we need this at our place, okay, let's just get a local place. No. They had the guard bring one of those hand washing stations from Grayling. So you got to get a bunch of guys, right?
This is a very expensive hand washing station.
Right.
Right, by the time you're done.
Yes. So after that happened, they're kind of like, wait a minute. This is not how this is going to go.
Right.
You've got to put your request in. It's got to go EOC. EOC looks at, okay, who can we have do this? And who's the most expensive? Because that was, all part of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I was in the JOC, we went through all those classes for emergency response.
Right.
And that's not how it's done.
Well, that's how it works, though, right?
It was all those FEMA classes we went through.
Yeah.
We'd go through weekend FEMA training where, we'd actually run events and, here's how it goes. And, Michigan, like every state runs it different. Some are the same, but Michigan runs it off of the EOC runs it.
Right.
And some states, the Guard runs it, but not here.
No.
So yeah, it was interesting. They rented out the whole Quality Inn, not the Quality Inn, the Crown Plaza.
Oh yeah, right off of Kreitz Road,
Yeah,
right?
I had a room there. Never stepped foot in it
Yep.
for like a couple weeks. They're like, "Do you even use that room?" I'm like, "No, you gave it to me, but I didn't need it." Okay, you turn in your key. Okay.
And you're living in your current home.
So I moved here in 09.
Okay, yeah, okay.
09. So this
You've been
is
here for a while.
yeah. So this is around 17, 18.
Right, right.
So yeah. So
So your daughter had cancer for a long time.
yeah,
Yeah,
she fought it for 6 years,
yeah.
on and off. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, long time.
I didn't realize that until just now. Like I did the timeline. Yeah, that is a long time.
She was living with her mom part of the time down in Heartland,
Okay.
and then she was living with her uncle for part of the time. They had a little falling out, so I would go down there. I'd pick her up and take her to St. Joe's Hospital in Pontiac for treatment. So I'd take her there at like 6, 7 in the morning, and I'd sit with her till 6, 7 at night, and then I'd take her back. And then sometimes I'd stay down there. Sometimes I drive back, because when they give chemo medicine, it's a time thing. Okay, this medicine's got to be given, for an hour and a half, and then we need a 2-hour break before we can give this medicine, and then we need a, this. And so I would just sit there with her. She got her infusions, and then she had 2 bone marrow transplants, both at U of M. One of her donors was from Poland.
Wow.
So she had 4 donors in Poland. One of them stepped up and said, "I'll do it." So I don't know if you know anything about bone marrow
That's
transplant.
the whole process. I know that there's like a bank where you can get tested, so you know that if you match with someone,
yeah.
But
Yeah, it's everyone I talk to says, "Well, I heard it's really painful." Not really.
yeah,
What they do is, so first they use her white blood cells, because her cancer was in her white blood cells. Fights off diseases and infections. So they harvested her white blood cells. What they do is they stick line in this arm, suck blood out, put it in a spinny thing, pull white blood cells out, push it back in this arm,
yeah.
and then save the white blood cells. So that's what they had to do with this gentleman in Poland. They got all his white blood cells, they shipped them over, and then what they do is they kill all her white blood cells with intense chemo, kill them all, so she has no white blood cells. They take the white blood cells, they're frozen, and they put them in a warm bath, hot water, warm them up, and they take a syringe and they suck them up, and then they have a line going in her, a little valve, whoosh, and then they have a homing device that goes to her large bones. So all those cells go to her large bones and create more white blood cells, except her bones would turn them into cancerous white blood cells
Yeah.
in the end. So, but yeah, so she did that, like I said, I remember taking her to Sparrow in Lansing on 4th of July to have infusion. Oh, sad.
That's
She had her in a wheelchair. She's crying. "I don't want to do this. I'm so tired of this." So we got to do it, Courtney. It was just her, me, and a technician in there.
yeah.
It was just a short one day, like a couple hours. They infused her. Okay, we'll go back home. So yeah. So we up to 17, 18.
Yeah, 18.
COVID happens. Still
19,
doing counter
20.
drug stuff.
Yeah.
And then my commander for counter drug for aviation, Mark Sanako, when I was going through all this stuff with my daughter, he's like, whatever time you need, just let me know. And he goes, and if you don't, I know what you're doing.
Right.
So I was very fortunate, because a lot of that stuff was during the week, and my ex-wife couldn't take her. And then she eventually moved in here, and then it was easier to take care of her, and I'd have to give her IVs and stuff in here. So yeah, I was pretty lucky to have a good commander over there, and then Colonel Cooper. Colonel Cooper.
Colonel Cooper.
So he was our colonel over there that ran counter drug, and then it's Major Price now is running it now.
It was Colonel Francisco when I was
Oh yeah,
there.
Francisco. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You remember Lloyd Sutton?
Yeah.
Sutton, and then who was the other guy we had?
There's an Air Force guy that worked with Colonel Francisco. I can never remember his name. He was a great guy. I don't know if he's still in or not. Anyway, I digress. But I think the guard really has a way of taking care of people. We talked outside of this that I lost my stepbrother to cancer. He was in the 1st and 119th Field Artillery on Lansing, and he couldn't work anymore. But they kept him on the books and let him come in when he could.
Right.
And they took care of him and his family during that whole thing.
That's
right up
awesome.
until the end.
That's awesome.
And that's the kind of, I feel like, for all the stuff we talk about with the Guard, that's the stuff I remember.
Yeah.
Because when it comes down to it, we really take care of people.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right about that. Yeah, fortunate. I met, way more, positive and good people than, people that were just being jerks. Those people don't seem to last long.
The jackasses do stick out in my mind, but those aren't the people that I really remember.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of good people, a lot of good friends from time in the Guard.
Yeah. I still have friends from the Army.
Yeah.
Like I said, my one friend that came up here. So
you did how many years? 30?
So 38 total, because I joined when I was 18.
Yeah.
And then up until 56.
Mm-hmm.
And I had, 4 years was IR.
Yeah.
But I mean, it counts.
Right.
I've never not been, having a uniform here or there.
So is there anything in the Guard we haven't covered prior to retirement? I mean, we've done a lot of stuff.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I'm trying to remember stuff.
Well, you remember a bunch of stuff after I leave.
Of course. Yeah, of
That's
course.
how it works.
Yeah, because let me see. We're at JFHQ was my last duty assignment. Mm-hmm. I did a couple northern strikes, which were kind of like being in the jock, I'd work in what they call the high con. Mm-hmm. So my job was my last position. I was the battle captain, NCO, battle NCO. Sounds really professional, right? Like something special, right?
Stuff.
But it was basically taking down information from units that didn't want to give information.
Right.
And fake units, Oh, this unit's here. I'm like, oh, they're not really there, and then, having a board and putting all this stuff on it and writing numbers and calling people, hey, where's your status reports? And, and then telling people and then I'd come in and then I'd be sitting down and Tara would be over my shoulders. Hey, pull up the duty log. I want to see what happened at this time. All right, sir. Pull it up. You look at it. Oh, okay. And the next thing I look, and it was freaking Whitmer over my shoulder too. Hey, what's going on with that? Oh, that's this and that, whatever. So that was kind of neat, in that being in that room with all those people. But it never pertained, like the ATs we did for that didn't actually pertain to the jobs that we actually did during the week.
Oh, no, absolutely not. No, that's a whole different.
It was just who we could get to do this job.
Right. Who could do it well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, let me ask you this. So, I know how it was for me, but I'm always curious, like, what was it like for you the last time you put that uniform on? And you knew this is going to be the last time you're going to put that uniform on because you're going to retire.
Yeah, I don't remember. I swear I put it, because I do remember, I will just say this about putting on a uniform and taking off a uniform is when I knew it was time. Uh-huh. Because I always said when it wasn't fun anymore and I didn't like doing it, because I could still be doing it right now, actually, if I wanted to.
Right.
I could still do it. But it was the last, I had made my decision already but the final straw was I was up at Northern Strike. It was my last one, and I was getting ready in the barracks because we were living in the barracks.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm standing, and there's this young lieutenant next to me, and I'm standing in the mirror, and I'm shaving, and all I'm looking at is this old ass soldier in the mirror looking back at me like, and then I see this young guy that's like ready to, and I'm
Fresh,
like,
he's like, woohoo.
yeah, and I'm just like, yeah, this is the right decision. I felt good with the decision. Like
Yeah.
he looks like a soldier. I look like an old guy on Halloween, with a uniform on. I'm like, I didn't feel like a soldier. I didn't, I was gaining weight and looking like, I'm like, yeah,
We eventually turned into that guy we used to laugh about.
yeah,
Right?
exactly.
We all eventually turned into that guy.
Yeah. But the last day I put on my uniform was at Fort Knox because I had to out-process Fort Knox because I was an active duty soldier.
Right.
So I drive down to Fort Knox, and I will tell you this though, I drive down there, and I check into my room, and then I left my room and I just walked around Fort Knox till like 2-3 in the morning because that's where I went to basic training, right?
Right. It's all come full circle.
Yep. So I walked around and I walked around some of the barracks. I'd never seen these barracks, but it was just Army stuff. And I walked through the PX, and then, I walked where they have like this big parade field in the middle of Fort Knox that I've never seen before. And they had, memorials for different things and recognition of this and, Army equipment. So I walked around that. I walked around like their officers club and, I'd seen somebody like on CQ duty, just kind of remembering stuff. And I actually went, like I said, I went over by my old area that's not there anymore. So yeah, kind of, thinking back about all my time as I was walking around. And then I got up that morning, went and I was checking my hotel and had my name tag switched, and the lady had to say something.
Oh, no.
Like, oh yeah.
Oops.
I go, I out-process at their out-processing center. I'm wearing my uniform for last time. They take pictures. I got a flag, take pictures. And when you finally out-process, they say, we have another retiree, and everyone claps and, which is fantastic, right? Like, and then I go back and I already checked out at a hotel. So I'm changing out of my uniform in the parking lot, which I've done many times.
A million times.
Many times.
Oh, yeah.
And then I put on my civilian clothes and I put a shirt on that said grumpy old vets. Grumpy old vet, I do what I want.
Yep.
I went into Burger King because every post has a Burger King. And got a Burger King meal, which was probably the last one I haven't bought one since then. It's just not what I eat,
Right.
And then I left. Wow. So, and then a month later, I went to get my new ID card, my retiree ID card, because they don't give you one yet because it has to process. And I had to go down Battle Creek to the old sanitarium, at the ID department there. So I'm like, sweet, I'll go get my ID card, I get enrolled in Deers, I get my, like, look at, look at this, your 214's, the date is wrong on it. I'm like, what? Yeah, your date, that's wrong. Your orders say that you got out of the Army July 31, but your orders say that you got out August 30. I'm like,
no.
What? It was wrong. It was wrong. They put the wrong date. And I looked at it, and 3 other people looked at it.
You signed it. Everybody signed it,
Right.
right?
So I had to get a 215 made, addendum. I was able to get that done while I was there. And then I was able to get my ID card and get rolling. But then I had to we'll go through the process of getting my pay adjusted for the month. Yeah. So that was my final straw.
That's right. It's like I made the right decision.
It was my own fault. Right. I should have looked. I mean, I did look. You're looking at so much paperwork, at that time, because it's all your whole career, Yeah. And the lady that was there when I joined the military.
That's incredible.
I took my Fort Knox basic training book with me into that place, and I showed it to her. And she was like, oh, I remember this. And, yeah.
Yeah. People stick around in those jobs sometimes. That's really cool, though.
Yeah. So that was it. And I drove home, and then once I got my paperwork straight, I was getting my retirement check. Yeah. Like right on time. So I collected from them, and then I went through the disability process, and shortly after that, starting to get disability checks, and I just followed the process. Go do this, take care of that, look at that, and I know I hear a lot of people have a lot of issues with, things that went on and fighting this and fighting that, but here's what you need to do. I started doing all that and go see this person, see that person, and okay.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I've been to, let's see, what have I done since I've been retired?
Because it's been so long. It's been so long since you retired.
I was working so before I got out of the Army, I was working at the golf course because I had so much leave time. So I was still technically on Army status.
Right.
Because I went to Fort Knox in May, but my actual getting out of the Army was July 31st.
Yeah.
So I was still collecting, still on, Army pay. But I was working at the golf course here in town. And after my first year there, I was like, it's like a job now.
Right, I'm not enjoying this anymore.
It was fun at first, but I'm like, oh.
So you've been doing some traveling, things like that, right, though, since retirement?
I have, yeah. I've been Albania, Jamaica. I'm going to Mexico Saturday. I'm going to Las Vegas in February.
Love Vegas. One of my favorite places.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time there.
Yeah.
Where do you like to go there?
So when we go, we stay at the Cosmopolitan. It's our favorite hotel.
Oh, that place is nice.
It's amazing, and we just love to we don't really gamble. We just like to go to dinner. There's a really nice Greek restaurant there at the Venetian, and then there's on the old part. There's I can never remember the name of it. It's a steakhouse, but it's like stepping back into the 50s. They all wear like bow ties. And
Really?
Yeah, and they make like your salad table side, and I cannot. It's like in the basement of I can't remember the casino, but it's in that old part of town. So yeah, my wife and I just love. It's just being in Vegas, It's just amazing. So yeah, we like that. We do a lot of traveling too, because as you know, I'm retired. But yeah, so we've covered a lot of stuff over the last 3 hours or so.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, well, almost. I've been here for almost 3 hours.
You got here at 1, right?
Yeah, it's 4, almost 4.
Oh, wow.
But yeah.
Drapes and wait till tomorrow.
Yeah. So yeah,
Wife will be home in a half hour.
There you go. So we've covered a lot. We've talked about a lot of things. You've had a very interesting life, and I guarantee you, I'm going to get halfway home, and you're going to think of some other things you wish you to talk about, and that's fine. But really, I always ask like one last question as we kind of wrap up our discussion, and that is, someone's listening to this story 100 years from now, and neither one of us are here anymore. What would you like people to take away from this conversation and from your life?
Oh, wow. That's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
Let me think about that for a minute. I hope if they listen to these stories, they can, think about how a helicopter guy made it through the military, working on a lot of different helicopters, and never did I think I was ever going to do that for that long. Mm-hmm. I never thought I'd be in the military for that long. It just kind of happened that way, I guess. I never thought I'd be retiring as young as I did. I never thought, I would say I never had a horrible experience in the military. I've had some bad, and I can look back and I guess be happy and proud of what I did. And maybe see how life was back in the 80s, 90s, the 2000s, and how the Guard ran, maybe a little bit off of some of my stories, maybe.
Yeah.
And then how we both knew people, because the community's kind of small in the Guard.
It's huge, but it's small.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. I guess that would be it,
Okay. Well, also just listening to your story, right? You never know what the end is going to be. Like, right? Like, I don't think either one of us would join the military. I think we'd spend a career doing it.
No.
Right? I think Somebody once told me that if you want to make God laugh, just tell him what your plans are.
Yeah.
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 All right. Well, Nick.
Oh, excuse me. I was sneezing in it.
That's all right. That's all right. I'll let you catch your breath.
Yeah, I think, man, you're right. There's so many things that happened. And then I'm a very visual person. So a lot of my stories have, if I look at pictures, I'll be like, oh, I remember when this happened.
Oh,
or,
yeah.
I remember when that happened, and I take a lot of pictures and show a lot of pictures because it helps me remember things.
Well, you can't have 38 years and remember everything.
No. There's a lot. I always just tried to have fun. Mm-hmm. That's what I tried. Like, I remember me and my friend, you said, we'd always try and drive a vehicle that we never drove. We ever drive that? Let's go drive that. And always, like, for instance, going to Iraq. Everyone's like, you're going to go to Iraq? Aren't you going to be scared? I'm like, I've never been there, so I want to see what it's about. I'm not that excited to go there, but I'm like, I haven't been there. I want to go see what it's about.
Yeah.
And that's how I always felt when I was going someplace. Like, what's this going to be about? Like when I went to Albania, I've never been there. Let's go see. Let's see what's about. Then I can go back and go, yeah, I never want to go to that shithole again.
Right.
Or
we're going again next year.
Or feel how lucky I am that I'm not living like how those people are. Mm-hmm. And, I watch the news and I see these people downing America. And I'm like, have you been anywhere? Have you seen how the rest of the world lives? Have you seen? No, you haven't. You live good.
For all of our faults, this is the best country in the world.
People live good here and they want to talk crap about, our living situation and everything can be better. No doubt about it. But there's people that just don't have what we have.
Yeah.
They don't. Not at all.
And we've seen it with our own two eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I never thought, I never thought I'd be living in a house like this with, getting paid by the Army, Even my father-in-law was like, why are you in the Guard? That doesn't pay. I'm like, I'm not here for the pay. Right. When I was first in the Guard, I wasn't in there for the pay. I just wanted to do it.
If you're there for the pay, find another career.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, hey, Nick, thanks for spending the afternoon with me. I am glad that we finally connected. This has been amazing.
Good. Thanks for coming out. Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you for watching Veterans Archives. We hope you enjoyed this veteran story. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button, like and share our videos, as well as checking us out on social media. We're on Facebook and TikTok, LinkedIn, X, and Instagram. Be sure to check out those pages, share, and like. And for more information about what we do, go to www.veteransarchives.org.